Chapter 2001. Immortality, cultivated while being tortured every day. She even believed in fate. After meeting Night Sorrow, her fate had changed. She would lose a body if she obtained one. As for why there weren't any consequences for possessing a body in Heaven Wasteland, that was because she had luck in Heaven Wasteland. However, it was different in the Celestial Realm. To Immortality, the most urgent thing was to speed up the fusion of the bodies and gain strength. Then, she could snatch back the original body's soul imprint before it was erased. If the original body was refined, then there would be no aura and soul imprint that belonged to her. Without a soul imprint, it would be difficult to fuse again, and it would take some time. Other than that, without a soul imprint, other people could enter her body and refine it. It wasn't a possession, it was just a refinement. It could be used as a treasure or a battle clone. Immortality didn't come out and couldn't come out. Adding on the fact that divination was ineffective, Night Sorrow didn't have any good ideas. He could only focus on cultivation and scouting Reincarnation Island. As they advanced, he would point out areas where the team was lacking. He would also point out areas where the team was lacking. After a long period of scouting, they encountered high cultivation dragon-headed men. Even Emperor ranks couldn't withstand the suppression of this small team. The First Army soldiers were all Emperors. With the Emperors working together, taking care of a low-level Emperor rank wasn't a problem. Even if a middle-level Emperor appeared, there wouldn't be any danger because Long Jin and Tianyu could fight. Long Jin was already an Emperor rank and could easily fight above his rank. Along the way, they encountered a void purple light snake. However, it was rather weak and was caught by Long Jin's dragon claw. Just as it was about to drill into Long Jin's body, it was torn apart and killed by Long Jin. The other team also encountered a void purple light snake. Without Long Jin making a move, Lin Yun killed it. Captain, there's no need to worry about that team. Lin Yun's combat power is very strong. I've seen that she's a little hesitant and unfamiliar with the battle. That's because she hasn't had enough battle experience. It has nothing to do with her strength or combat talent. After the void purple light snake was suppressed by her domain, its speed decreased and its threat decreased. Killing it became much easier. Seeing that Night Sorrow was a little worried, Long Jin reported the situation of that team. Yes, it's good that I can deal with the void purple light snake. That's our biggest threat on Samsara Island. Night Sorrow nodded. The members of the First Army and the God-slaying team faced the greatest dangers on the Samsara Island, including the dragon-headed man, the snake-headed man, and the void purple light snake. The void purple light snake was the most dangerous one because its defense was low and it would be killed instantly. Bilingling was a nine-tailed divine beast with a strong body, but it was also broken in an instant. Night Sorrow and Lin Yun could withstand it, because they both had the power of merit. The power of merit was energy that the void purple light snake could not devour. Long Jin could barely withstand it because his golden scales were extremely strong. Now that everything was stable, Night Sorrow continued to lead them forward to investigate. After more than 10 days, the team arrived at the edge of the Samsara Island. There were many Nirvana storms and space cracks in this area. The suppression on the First Army and the God-slaying team was much stronger. Long Jin, take the team and camp here. If you need to cultivate, just do it. If there's any danger, inform me. I'll go to the edge of the island to take a look and see which areas need to be heavily guarded. Yishan said to Long Jin before flying away. CW more $I new in most RC fast W% up Night Sorrow communicated with the team through the Soul Crystal. In addition, Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Atoy were in the team. Their original bodies were cultivating in the 9-domain world. If there was any danger, they could find Night Sorrow's 9-domain doppelganger to send a message. With the Blood-Kirin evil slaying spear on his back, Night Sorrow flew quickly. Except for the extremely aggressive Nirvana Storm, there was almost nothing to stop him. This was because the Nirvana Storm not only hurt the First Army and the God-slaying team, but also the dragon-headed man and the snake-headed man. Therefore, some areas were also forbidden areas for them and all monsters. Captain won't be in danger, right? After Night Sorrow left for a while, White Ming Ming said with some worry, "No, Captain's strength isn't that simple. The Void Storm puts a lot of pressure on us, but if Captain can fly as he pleases, it won't affect him. After sleeping for 700 years, Captain has become even more unfathomable. Unless we see an expert fight Captain once, we won't be able to see how strong Captain is." Tiger Cold said. Long Jean laughed. "There's still smart people. Let's put it this way. Peak Emperors have no chance in front of Captain and will only be killed. Even if an Emperor Tribulation Cultivator can withstand Captain's attacks, it's still unknown. If you want to pressure Captain, you have to be an Emperor Tribulation Cultivator. Everyone, don't worry. I heard from Sister Xian who is also the Ethereal Battle Empress, that she had sparred with the Great Demon King in Night Sorrow. She relied on her high realm and the abundant energy in her body to slightly suppress Night Sorrow, but she couldn't defeat him." Sikong Chiyu laughed. Her husband was the pride of her heart. Domineering, Flower without words muttered. 13th brother has always been pursuing practical combat strength. He has no shortcomings in attack, defense, and speed. He has absolute arts that complement his own attributes. "So, you guys should understand," Tian Yu said. He had cultivated the space-time realm and knew how freakish the defense of the space-time realm was. Night Sorrow reached the edge of Nirvana Ocean and released his soul power to the maximum. Then, he circled around the edge of Reincarnation Island and began his patrol. While flying, Night Sorrow also analyzed the situation that he scouted. As long as a cultivator landed on the island, there would be traces left behind. For example, the destruction of the environment caused by the impact of a defensive domain. After using 3 months, Night Sorrow scouted the entire coastline of Reincarnation Island. Then, he returned to the campsite of the First Army and the God-Slaying team. "Captain, what took you so long?" Tiger Cold asked. Night Sorrow laughed and said that he flew around the coastline of Reincarnation Island. "You scouted around directly?" "Captain, you finished all the work when we set up camp?" Tiger Cold's mouth was wide open. Although he knew that Night Sorrow was efficient, he didn't expect Night Sorrow's scouting to be so efficient. Based on the current situation, it won't be easy for the Demon Wing clan to enter Reincarnation Island. If a supreme powerhouse brought his men here, then the opportunity will appear. Lord King Wu will be able to sense it. Without a supreme powerhouse, ordinary people won't be able to come here immediately. Night Sorrow said. In public, Night Sorrow always addressed Lord King Wu as Lord King Wu. If he directly addressed him as Martial Uncle, people would think that he was using his status to talk. "Captain, based on your analysis, there won't be any problems?" Flower without words asked. "Not completely. What if the other party is worried about the opportunity and opens a spatial tunnel to send people in? At that time, they will directly enter the hinterland of Reincarnation Island and use some methods to hide their aura. It won't be that easy to detect them." Night Sorrow shook his head. Chapter 2002. War Sky, we can't go in directly. Those old fellows from the 100 Races Alliance might have people on the island. No matter which one of us goes in, we'll be discovered. We aren't afraid of fighting, but we can't afford to fail or be discovered. If the other side is alerted, it will be very disadvantageous for us in the future. If they're prepared, they'll defend the island to the death. It'll be very difficult for us to reach the celestial realm with the help of Samsara Island, Yu Qianmo said. Indeed, the heavenly concubine situation is unclear. If we fight them to the death, we will be at a disadvantage. But what should we do? Mo Zhantian looked at Mo Yutian and asked. Borrowing the power of the sacrificial pagoda, we can open a space-time tunnel to send people in. My doppelganger will bring the wheel of life and death along with the others. However, this will require all the elders of the Demon Ancestor Palace to work together to stabilize the space-time tunnel. Mo Yuqian explained his thoughts. Mo Zhantian pondered and opened a spatial tunnel to connect the celestial realm to the reincarnation battlefield. Due to the distance and the interference of fate, they could only send in cultivators below the Emperor rank. Now, Opening a spatial tunnel to the Reincarnation Island was relatively easy. It was half the distance to the Celestial Realm. The Reincarnation battlefield had become the Reincarnation Island, so the interference of fate was much less. It seems that this is the only way. Yuqian, bring some people in and set up the defensive matrix and teleportation matrix. Once the sacrificial tower's energy has recovered, I will arrange for people to open a space tunnel and send some emperors to the Celestial Realm. Once they set up the teleportation matrix corresponding to the Samsara Island, everything will be done. Mo Zhantian nodded. He agreed with Mo Yutian's point of view. For the Demon Wing clan, they had to bear some costs and risks. As long as they could break into the Celestial Realm, all the costs and risks were worth it. The Wheel of Life and Death was an ancestral artifact of the demon race. It could conceal one's aura, but the premise was that one's energy was not exposed. It could only conceal energy that had not been activated. If Mo Yutian were to bring his men over, he would have to use his own domain and energy to resist the Nirvana storm. Under such circumstances, the aura-concealing effect of the Wheel of Life and Death would be useless. However, things would be different if they entered Samsara Island through the space-time tunnel. As long as Mo Zhantian did not activate the energy within his body, all auras would be sealed. Mo Zhantian left. He was going to communicate with the elders of the Devil Ancestor Hall. The elders of the Devil Ancestor Hall were similar to the elders of the 100 Races Alliance. In the Celestial Realm, hundreds of races coexisted. As long as any race contributed to the Celestial Realm and had outstanding cultivators in their own race, they could join the Elder Council. The deserted world was different. In the deserted world, only the Demon Wing clan was powerful. However, the Demon Wing clan was also divided into bloodlines, branches, and different inheritances. Mo Yuqian, Mo Zhantian, Mo Tianji, and the others all came from different tribes. Because of their outstanding and powerful strength, they had the right to speak in the Demon Wing clan. However, the other large tribes also had outstanding cultivators. These outstanding cultivators were almost all the leaders of their respective tribes and branches. They were also members of the Elder Council of the Demon Ancestor Palace. Yishang took the team to change their route and rush to the original rendezvous point on Samsara Island. He also needed to discuss the situation and analysis with King Yawu. As for how to defend, he did not care. Only King Yawu, the city master of Heavenly Desolate City, and the great elders could discuss. Although they had changed their route, Night Sorrow and the others were still very fast. They arrived at the rendezvous point in half a month. The team led by Zhuo Dong and Lin Yun had been back for a while. They could not explore like Night Sorrow. They could only explore the hinterland of Samsara Island in a semicircle. Night Sorrow knew this because he had communicated with Long Jin's doppelganger. After returning to the camp, Night Sorrow and King Yawu discussed the current situation. In this critical period, the consequences of carelessness are unbearable. What you said is very likely, but all we can do is to defend. Because they opened the space-time tunnel, they don't know the specific landing point. King Yawu shook his head. Even King Yawu could not understand Night Sorrow's idea. It's too difficult to defend passively. Uncle, don't we have any plans to attack? Night Sorrow asked. Yes, but we have to wait. We are already in the 8th era of Samsara Island. There won't be small clashes so easily. If we are to fight, it will be a battle of life and death. The Heaven Desolation City Lord and Uncle are both trying to break through. If they can break through, it will be an opportunity for the decisive battle. King Yawu said. Night Sorrow nodded and didn't say anything else. Because the implications were too deep, he couldn't understand. Since King Yawu didn't say anything, he just asked, Don't touch your master's sword Dao for now. Even if you have the taboo attribute, it will be a burden for you. Break through to peak Emperor rank as soon as possible. This is the most important thing. It's best if you reach peak Emperor rank with destruction or nothingness. With the supreme attribute as the lead, your taboo attribute will be even stronger. King Yawu said to Night Sorrow. He still didn't recommend Night Sorrow to study Yin Wushuang's sword Dao now. Then senior brother can only wait. Wait until I study Master's book before I can communicate with him. Knight Sorrow said. He will understand. Because once you read the sword manual, even if you don't want to learn or cultivate, some things will naturally be imprinted in your mind. It will affect what you're learning now. If it conflicts with your current cultivation path, it will be troublesome. King Yawu reminded Knight Sorrow. Different cultivation paths meant different Dao. If there was a conflict between Dao, it would be fine if it could be resolved and merged. If it couldn't, the result would be a collapse of the Dao heart. The consequences would be severe. Soon after, King Yawu told Knight Sorrow that there was no need to scout the surrounding regions of Samsara Island. Other than a few experts from the Devil Wing race, even emperors couldn't pass through the Nirvana Storm Seal and reach Samsara Island. If an expert came, he would be able to detect it. Knight Sorrow also understood this. He took the map and marked out some regions. There was no need to scout the Broken Sky Mountain region, as there was the Void Purple Light Snake. For latest chapter, stanza LQPJP, a Void Purple Light Snake, was a problem for the cultivators of the Celestial Realm. It was also a problem for the Devil Wing race. Relatively speaking, the key area Knight Sorrow marked out was Demon Mountain. Demon Mountain was once the nest of the dragon-headed and snake-headed people. The dragon-headed and snake-headed people were taken away by the Devil Wing race. Therefore, if the Devil Wing race wanted to do something on Samsara Island, it was reasonable to choose Demon Mountain. After Knight Sorrow marked out the regions, the scouting began again. When they were halfway around Demon Mountain, Knight Sorrow waved his hand to stop the team. Then he stopped moving. Long Jean led the people to be on guard. There were only two possibilities for such a situation. Either Knight Sorrow discovered the situation, or Knight Sorrow's original body had a problem. At this time, Knight Sorrow's original body had a problem. Because the nothingness attribute had increased a little, it triggered a riot of the nothingness attribute. This situation attracted a guy that was different from the ordinary Void Purple Light Snake. It was more than 4 feet long and had a golden line from the back of its head to its tail. Void Purple Light Snake King. Seeing this special guy, Knight Sorrow knew what was going on. Chapter 2003. The nothingness Purple Light Snake King was swimming within Knight Sorrow's reincarnation domain. With the naked eye, it was filled with a domineering and gorgeous aura. Its body was filled with a sense of beauty. Of course, this beauty was only external. Only Knight Sorrow knew how fierce it was. The reincarnation domain collapsed under the constant attacks of the nothingness Purple Light Snake King, forming a small void vortex. The nothingness Purple Light Snake King approached Knight Sorrow while attacking and devouring energy. Knight Sorrow was sure that the nothingness Purple Light Snake King could devour his energy. During the collision, Knight Sorrow's reincarnation domain's energy was broken down into destruction, space-time, and limitless energy. The nothingness Purple Light Snake King could devour it. Suppress. Yishang snorted softly. His power of merit exploded and strengthened his domain. With the power of virtue, the power of Knight Sorrow's domain increased by a lot. Most importantly, the nothingness Purple Light Snake King could not devour the power of virtue. Naturally, it was suppressed. Waving the Samsara halberd, Knight Sorrow attacked. When the Samsara halberd was very close to the nothingness Purple Light Snake King's head, a thought suddenly appeared in Knight Sorrow's mind. This caused his Samsara halberd to deviate. Knight Sorrow suddenly had the idea to subdue the nothingness Purple Light Snake King. The nothingness Purple Light Snake was the overlord of this reincarnation island. If he could subdue the nothingness Purple Light Snake King, then the group of nothingness Purple Light Snakes could become Knight Sorrow's eyes. Withdrawing the Samsara halberd's attack, Knight Sorrow's left hand, wrapped in energy, pressed towards the nothingness Purple Light Snake King. The nothingness Purple Light Snake King's rebound and impact force rushed towards Knight Sorrow's left hand. Knight Sorrow felt as if his left hand was pressing against an erupting volcano, an angry dragon. Using his left hand to suppress the nothingness Purple Light Snake King, Knight Sorrow's right hand formed a fist. He used shockwave force to bombard the nothingness Purple Light Snake King's head. He wanted to knock the nothingness purple light snake king unconscious. The punch that contained 30% of his power only managed to stop the void purple light snake struggle for an instant. The void purple light snake king's defensive ability was very strong. 30% of Night Sorrow's energy didn't do much damage to it. Sensing the defensive power of the nothingness purple light snake king, Night Sorrow kept unleashing punches. The power behind his punches kept increasing. When Night Sorrow's primary energy reached 80%, he managed to knock out the nothingness purple light snake king with one punch. Night Sorrow and the nothingness purple light snake king entered the inner space of the human emperor's seal. Night Sorrow didn't dare to use any other magic treasure to trap the nothingness purple light snake king. An ordinary nothingness purple light snake could easily break through spatial barriers and destroy defensive treasures, let alone the nothingness purple light snake king. Not even the clear sky pagoda could withstand it. The moment the nothingness purple light snake king woke up, it was suppressed by the power of virtue that Night Sorrow had unleashed using the human emperor's seal. With the power of virtue bolstered by the human emperor's seal, the nothingness purple light snake king was completely suppressed. It was like a loach stuck in a quagmire. Next, you have two options. You can either submit or be destroyed. Night Sorrow sent his message to the nothingness purple light snake king. In response to Night Sorrow, the nothingness purple light snake king unleashed a soul attack in response to Night Sorrow. In that case, let's see how long you can last. Right now, you don't even have the chance to die. After saying that, Night Sorrow brought out the human emperor's seal. The human emperor's seal floated above Night Sorrow's head. Night Sorrow activated the human emperor's fire of virtue and began attacking the nothingness purple light snake king's spirit sea. Night Sorrow knew that if this continued, there would be two outcomes. One was to subdue the nothingness purple light snake king, and the other was to refine and obliterate its soul. If he could subdue the nothingness purple light snake king, then there was nothing more to say. If he could refine its soul, Night Sorrow could only send a strand of his soul power into the nothingness purple light snake king's spirit sea and try to control the nothingness purple light snake king's spirit sea. However, the possibility was very low. Night Sorrow continued to comprehend the power of heaven and earth while burning the nothingness purple light snake king with a fire of virtue. Night Sorrow's doppelganger, who was leading the First Legion and the God-slaying squad, opened his eyes. We can continue forward. Captain, what happened? Long Jean asked. We encountered the nothingness purple light snake king and fought for a while. Night Sorrow said with a smile. He didn't go into the details. If he did, everyone would be disappointed if he couldn't subdue them. The team continued to investigate. Night Sorrow's doppelganger walked at the back. No one disturbed him because there was no need for Night Sorrow to fight. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. On this day, the Nirvana storm on Samsara Island became very intense. Due to the influence of natural factors, the Nirvana tide became stronger. Night Sorrow ordered the team to stop moving forward. He wasn't afraid, but if the team members were to be sucked in by the void vortex, they would be in big trouble. While the First Legion and the God-slaying squad were setting up camp, some people gathered in front of the sacrificial tower of the Devil Imperial City. It was a team led by Immerse and enchanting. There were a few emperors in the team, and the rest were all monarchs. Half of them were from the Devil-Winged race, while the other half were from the Dragon-Head race and the Snake-Head race. In front of this team, there were some Devil-Winged race members with powerful auras. They were the elders of the Devil Ancestor Palace. If there's anything, we can communicate with our real bodies. I will go first and activate the sacrificial tower, Immerse said to enchanting. Later, I will send some monarchs to the celestial realm to set up a teleportation array that connects to Samsara Island. We can communicate at any time. After enchanting finished speaking, he nodded to the elders of the Devil Ancestor Palace behind him. The price of continuously opening the space-time tunnel was huge. However, in order to conquer the celestial realm, the Devil-Winged race had to bear the price no matter how big it was. Original version 9. In premiere, following the activation of the Elders of the Devil Ancestor Palace, a beam of light shot out from the sacrificial tower. The beam of light shot through the sky and turned into a space-time tunnel. Mo-Utian's doppelganger then led the team into it. Mo-Utian had asked the fortune teller to choose the time for the battle. When the Nirvana storm was at its strongest, it would be easier to open the space-time tunnel, and they wouldn't be discovered. After exiting the space-time tunnel, Mo-Utian and his team appeared in the Devil Mountain region of Samsara Island. Everyone, be careful. Don't be discovered. We will set up the defensive array now. This isn't an easy task. Let's begin. Mo-Utian ordered the team behind him. In order to set up a teleportation array on Samsara Island, first of all, they couldn't let the Nirvana storm affect the operation of the teleportation array. In order to do so, they had to set up a large-scale defensive array to stabilize the surrounding space. The stalemate between Night Sorrow's real body and the Void Purple Light Snake King was still ongoing. However, the Void Purple Light Snake King wasn't as energetic as before. The human emperor's fire of virtue was irresistible. It kept burning its soul, causing it to be unable to withstand it. Chapter 2004. The Void Purple Light Snake King did not respond because it was meaningless. Noticing the Snake King's state and attitude, Night Sorrow suddenly increased the impact of the Emperor's fire. While the Snake King was still in a daze, Night Sorrow's soul power rushed into the space of the Void Purple Light Snake King's Spirit Sea. Inside the Void Purple Light Snake King's Divine Sea was a divine infant. It was a figure that looked just like the original Void Purple Light Snake, but it was much smaller. Night Sorrow's soul power was wrapped around this divine infant. The outcome has been decided. You can kill me. As the deluxe Merit Emperor, why do you have to make things difficult for me? The Void Purple Light Snake King's voice sounded in Night Sorrow's Spirit Sea. I'm sorry. I have no choice but to do this because I need your help. Let's talk. Night Sorrow said, and withdrew the Emperor's fire of virtue. Then he calmly talked about the situation in the Celestial Realm and the deserted world, as well as the crisis in the Celestial Realm on the Samsara Island. The deserted world, the Celestial Realm. Are we also in the Celestial Realm? The Void Purple Light Snake King's Spirit Sea appeared in Night Sorrow's Spirit Sea. Yes, the war is about to begin. Let's not talk about whether I'm the deluxe Merit Emperor. I'm for the Celestial Realm. Naturally, I have to think about the races in the Celestial Realm. If this is a sin, I have to do it. I hope you don't blame me. Night Sorrow shook his head helplessly. You want the Void Purple Light Snakes to be your eyes. That's fine, but when will you let me go? The Void Purple Light Snake King asked. I don't know, but at least after the Samsara Island incident, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. Okay, but there are some things that we need to discuss. If you force me, I won't agree. The Void Purple Light Snake King walked around the Emperor's space and said, Okay. Night Sorrow nodded. Even if it was just a discussion, it was still a big gain for him. With a vibration of his soul, Night Sorrow pulled the Void Purple Light Snake out of the space of the Emperor's seal. Night Sorrow was not afraid that the Void Purple Light Snake would go back on its word. The Void Purple Light Snake's nascent soul was entwined with his soul power. As long as he used his soul power, the Void Purple Light Snake would not be able to fight back. After leaving the human Emperor's space, the Purple Light Snake King circled around Night Sorrow's body. Then, a purple gold halo appeared on its head, rippling in all directions. The order has been given. The Void Purple Light Snakes will not stay in one place. They have already spread out and are patrolling the entire Samsara Island. If there are any outsiders, they will be discovered soon. The Void Purple Light Snake King's soul fluctuations reached Night Sorrow's Divine Sea. Thank you. Night Sorrow nodded at the Void Purple Light Snake King. He was really happy. I am willing to do this mainly because we, the Void Purple Light Snakes, are also creatures of the Celestial Realm. This war is also related to us. Also, there is something else that I have helped you with. You have to help me too. Release that special domain and let me feel it. The Void Purple Light Snake King said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow thought for a while and released the power of merit. It's not that. The power of merit is not an elemental power, and it can't be comprehended. It's the original kind. The void purple light, Snake King's soul rippled with a trace of emotion and urgency. Night Sorrow understood what the void purple light Snake King was talking about. It was talking about the forbidden samsara domain. After understanding, Night Sorrow released it. Then the void purple light, Snake King, wandered in Night Sorrow's samsara domain. Sometimes it even swallowed it. However, this had no effect on Night Sorrow. He continued to meditate and comprehend the general trend of heaven and earth. Long Jin tells Wadong and Lin Yun to return with their teams. We will go back now. Night Sorrow ordered. Captain, don't you want to investigate anymore? Long Jin asked. Let's not investigate anymore. We already have spies. Night Sorrow smiled. He knew that the scouting efficiency of the two teams was incomparable to that of the Void Purple Light Snakes. What was the speed of the Void Purple Light Snakes? How many were they? In the past, they gathered in special areas. Once they spread out, they could cover most of the Samsara Island. Didn't you say that the arrangement of the stone trees would take some time? Can be done now. Besides, there are not enough stone trees. Flower Without Words said. P-Start, what if the Void Purple Light Snakes are helping us to keep an eye on the Samsara Island? Won't they be more efficient than us in investigating? We can just go and investigate wherever the situation is not right. Night Sorrow said. Brother 13, what's going on? Tianyu looked at Night Sorrow in surprise. Not only Tianyu, but the soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-Slaying team were also looking at Night Sorrow in shock. 2 months ago, I met the Void Purple Light Snake King. You all know that. I fought with it for 2 months. It was willing to help me as a scout on the Samsara Island. Night Sorrow said with a smile. That's amazing. So you subdued the Void Purple Light Snake King? White Ming Ming, who was also in the same team as Night Sorrow, looked at Night Sorrow as if he was a monster. Not really. We can communicate. It's willing to help us because it's also a being of the celestial realm. All right, let's go back. Night Sorrow ordered. Night Sorrow only mentioned one reason. In fact, there was another reason. The Void Purple Light Snake King was interested in Night Sorrow's reincarnation energy. The team turned around quickly. When they arrived at the rendezvous point, Night Sorrow told King Yawu about it. Very good. This is great news. When the Grand Elder sends shoot you in here, the Winged Demon Clan will not be able to sneak up on the Samsara Island. For the next period of time, the team just needs to keep an eye on the areas that the Void Purple Light Snakes are investigating. King Yawu was very happy to hear this news. With the help of the Void Purple Light Snakes, this place was Night Sorrow's home ground. It was also the home ground of the celestial realm. There are people. The Void Purple Light Snakes have discovered other people. I will take people to investigate. Night Sorrow's expression changed. The Void Purple Light Snake King received the report of the Void Purple Light Snakes that had spread out. Look at the situation. If there's a crisis, inform Uncle. King Yawu was very shocked when he heard Night Sorrow's words. The Winged Demon Clan had already arrived on the island. If the Void Purple Light Snakes hadn't discovered them, the celestial realm might not have reacted. Night Sorrow's original body communicated with the Void Purple Light Snake King. The Void Purple Light Snake King left the spatial whirlpool area and went to Night Sorrow's doppelganger. With a void jump, it entered Night Sorrow's doppelganger's divine sea. Night Sorrow didn't resist because the Void Purple Light Snake King's soul power wrapped around the divine infant couldn't hurt him. In addition, he didn't feel any hostility. Bowing to King Yawu, Night Sorrow led the team out. As for the direction and target, it was the Void Purple Light Snake King who guided them. Senior King Yawu didn't sense anything, so the people who appeared shouldn't be very strong. We might be able to kill them. Long Jin's fighting spirit was very strong. Chapter 2005. See Unspecified Currency. War is actually a process of a battle of wits and courage. Lord King Yawu came here to prevent the powerful experts of the Demon Wing clan from landing on the island. If there's an opportunity to sense the existence of the existence, they will be able to detect the experts of the other side. As for how the Demon Wing clan will solve this problem, the worst way is to send practitioners who won't trigger the opportunity detection. The best way is to send some masters here without triggering the opportunity detection, Night Sorrow said. Captain, do you mean that the Demon Wing clan may send some powerful masters here? Liang Yu asked with a serious look. According to Night Sorrow, the team was in danger. It's not impossible. The Demon Wing clan has a long history. Before the Celestial Realm appeared, the deserted world was the supreme world and had developed for countless years. We have to admit that the Devil Wing clan is strong. They might have some special techniques and magical treasures. Therefore, it is not a mistake to think more about the battle with the Devil Wing clan and think about the situation more complicated. Yishan nodded. It's better to be safe than sorry. You're right. We don't know how long the Celestial Realm and the Demon Wing clan have been fighting for, but the modeled city wall of the heavenly desolate city is proof. The sages of the human race and the Celestial Realm have been guarding the Celestial Realm for a long time. We must work hard to prevent the Celestial Realm from becoming a problem in our era. Otherwise, we'll be sorry to the sages and future generations, Zhuodong said. The members of the God-slaying team called Night Sorrow Captain, while the sergeants of the first troop called him Commander. Just do your best. Even if the Demon Wing clan managed to sneak in, it would be very difficult for them to do anything in a short period of time. In the storm of Samsara Island, without the support of a defensive formation, the teleportation formation can't be used even after it's set up, said Yishan. He was an Imperial Lord-level array master, so he knew some details. While Night Sorrow was talking, a dark energy appeared on his body. The energy uncontrollably rushed in all directions, and a strong destructive heaven and earth momentum appeared on his body. This kind of impact made the people around Night Sorrow unable to resist and retreat. After half a cup of tea's time, Night Sorrow's aura stabilized. A breakthrough. Sikong Chiyu returned to Night Sorrow's side. Yes, it came at the right time. When I was comprehending the nihility and infinity attributes, the destruction attribute leveled up. This will greatly increase my combat power. Night Sorrow nodded. At this moment, he was very happy. In this chaotic world, strength was the guarantee of everything. Only with strength could one have confidence. 13th brother. You slept for 700 years, and everyone worked hard, but in the end, you've been sleeping for 700 years, and your cultivation has continued to increase. Now that you've broken through again, how are we supposed to catch up to you? Tanya looked at Night Sorrow and said. However, the expression on his face was not conflicted at all. This was because he was happy for Night Sorrow. Brothers, it's not that I don't want to wait for everyone. However, the timing is not right now. I'm working hard to cultivate, not to show how capable I am, but to let everyone have a better and more stable life. I, Night Sorrow, am willing to be everyone's guardian. Night Sorrow turned around and looked at the soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-slaying squad. 13th brother, don't listen to Tianyu's nonsense. Tianyu, what's wrong with you? Don't you know who you are after getting married and having a wife? 13th brother is the glory in our hearts. 13th brother's achievements to us are as glorious as our own achievements. Yimei glared at Tianyu and said, I understand. Tianyu, you have a lot of stock in your storage ring. Help me distribute some wine to everyone to celebrate. Night Sorrow said as he patted Yimei's shoulder. Yimei had returned to the God-slaying squad for a while. During the 700 years when Night Sorrow was asleep, she had worked hard to cultivate, and her cultivation level had improved. In the God-slaying squad, she was second only to Long Jin and Tianyu. She was also at the peak of the Emperor realm. Zhuodong then asked Night Sorrow what kind of cultivators of the Demon Wing clan could pose a threat to Night Sorrow. Hearing Zhuodong's words, the soldiers of the First Army and the God-slaying squad waited for Night Sorrow's answer seriously. To put it bluntly, cultivators of the Emperor Tribulation stage can't pose a threat to me. Even cultivators of the lower Emperor Tribulation stage can't kill me easily, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Night Sorrow knew the difference between cultivators of the Emperor Tribulation and the Emperor Tribulation. Cultivators of the Emperor Tribulation were still at the stage of comprehending the general trend of the heavenly way. Their combat strength depended on their fighting talent, attributes, and other factors. However, cultivators of the Emperor Tribulation were different. Their comprehension of the general trend of the heavenly way had reached perfection, or at least one attribute of the general trend of the heavenly way had reached perfection. Every tribulation of the Emperor Tribulation could enhance one's soul. This was the fundamental reason why Yin Wushuang and Mo Tianji's souls could not be easily destroyed during the tribulation of the Seven Emperors. With the help of powerful soul power, genuine Qi and domain realm cultivators were much more powerful than cultivators of the same genuine Qi and domain realm. Awesome. Mo Chun, Guan Yi, and the others gave Night Sorrow a thumbs up. They were Night Sorrow's senior brothers, but they admired Night Sorrow from the bottom of their hearts. Night Sorrow made them feel proud. This was because Night Sorrow's character and strength was the benchmark for all cultivators in the 9 regions world, Primal Chaos Realm, and even the Celestial Realm. All right, let's go. Night Sorrow led the group and continued forward under the guidance of the Void Purple Light Snake King. The Void Purple Light Snake King was not a reliable beast. Sometimes, it would float out of Night Sorrow's divine sea and travel through the air. After a few breaths of time, it would come back and tell Night Sorrow that it had killed a dragon-headed being and a snake-headed being. Night Sorrow had a better understanding of the Void Purple Light Snake King's strength. It was completely different from what he thought it was at the peak of the Emperor rank. The Void Purple Light Snake King had not only comprehended the general trend of the void heaven and earth to perfection, it had also experienced 2 lightning tribulations, which was equivalent to 2 Emperor tribulations. As for why it lost to Night Sorrow, it was completely because Night Sorrow's reincarnation domain was able to suppress it with the power of virtue. He also had the human Emperor space that could trap it. Under these circumstances, it had no choice but to lose and had no complaints. In terms of speed, Tianyu was not as fast as the Void Purple Light Snake King. In terms of strength, Longjin was on par with the Void Purple Light Snake. In terms of battle strength, Tianyu and Longjin were incomparable because of the difference in realm. In terms of talent, the Void Purple Light Snake was not inferior to any divine beast. It was blessed by nature. The Void Purple Light Snake King often bullied the group of people behind Night Sorrow. With a swing of its tail, it could send people tumbling. No one could do anything about this situation. The Void Purple Light Snake was fast and could travel through the void. Everyone could only endure it and have a good attitude. If they did not have a good attitude, it would come back to them. Flower Without Words, who had a bad mouth, suffered a lot. As they advanced, the Void Purple Light Snake that was resting in Night Sorrow's divine sea told Night Sorrow that it had found the target, but the target was moving. In reality, Mo Yutian's soul power was powerful and had indeed found Night Sorrow's group first. Chapter 2006. Mo Yutian did not want to fight because fighting would expose their whereabouts and make it difficult for them to achieve their goal. With such thoughts in mind, Mo Yutian naturally avoided fighting and left quickly. Mo Yutian, who had suppressed his cultivation to below the sovereign tribulation, was extremely fast. Realm was more important than cultivation. The higher one's realm was the deeper one's understanding of heaven and earth, and the deeper one's understanding of heaven and earth's laws. Hence, one could ignore the suppression of some laws and fly faster. The Void Purple Light Snake King led Night Sorrow and the rest to chase after them. However, moments later, Mo Yutian and the rest disappeared from the Void Purple Light Snake's detection. You guys are so slow. If I were to chase after them myself, they wouldn't have been able to escape. The Void Purple Light Snake King grumbled in Night Sorrow's Spirit Sea. Night Sorrow chose to ignore the Void Purple Light Snake King's grumbling. He did not say anything. On this storm-filled Samsara Island, the Void Purple Light Snake King's speed was indeed much faster than his. Not to mention there was still a group of god-slaying team members with lower cultivation behind them. They could not keep up with the Void Purple Light Snake King's speed. After losing the target, Night Sorrow led the team to stop moving forward and let the Void Purple Light Snake King lead the Void Purple Light Snake King to investigate in the direction where the target disappeared. "Captain, what's going on?" Longjin asked. "The other party is fast. They should have an expert in the team. However, it doesn't matter. The Void Purple Light Snake can continue to investigate. They won't be able to gain a foothold here," Night Sorrow said. Although they had lost the target, Night Sorrow was not discouraged. At this moment, Immerse was very annoyed. He had just finished exploring the terrain with his men and was about to set up a formation when he discovered Night Sorrow and the rest approaching. In order to avoid being exposed and to carry out his purpose of setting up the teleportation formation secretly, he could only leave with his men and continue to hide their tracks. "Grand Elder, is that place not safe?" Mo asked. Immerse looked at Mo. "Just now, there was a group of people approaching us. If we don't leave, they will definitely rush to our stronghold. It will be unavoidable for us to encounter them and clash." Mo understood why Immerse had waved his sleeve before leaving and destroyed the formation bases that he had set up. That was to destroy all traces. The Demon Wings clan placed great importance on this mission. There were 3 key figures in Immerse's group: the Demon Wings clan's Grand Elder Mo, the head of the dragon-headed tribesmen Xiang Long, and the head of the snake-headed tribesman Shi Yuan. Night Sorrow led his men to set up camp while waiting for news from the Void Purple Light Snake. The Void Purple Light Snake King was very good at causing trouble, causing the camping team to be in a complete mess. For example, when Flower Without Words took out a jar of wine and opened it, the Void Purple Light Snake King dived in before he could drink. Flower Without Words held the jar and tilted his head back, but not a single drop of wine came out. The Void Purple Light Snake King had already finished the wine. H2 update _ soonest on. Tiger Cold had finished roasting the meat, but before he could eat it, the Void Purple Light Snake King pounced on him, leaving only a bare bone. Cursing was useless, and they couldn't beat it. The Void Purple Light Snake King became the little tyrant of this team. However, there were exceptions. In addition to being close to Night Sorrow, the Void Purple Light Snake King also had a good relationship with Night Sorrow's wives in the team. "Little Purple, don't make trouble. There's wine here." Sikong Chiyu opened a jar of wine and shouted at the Void Purple Light Snake King, who was staring at Tiger Cold. The Void Purple Light Snake King sent a space oscillation wave at Tiger Cold, forcing Tiger Cold to step back. The Void Purple Light Snake King flashed to the wine jar in front of Sikong Chiyu and drank half of the jar. Then it traveled through the void again and took away the roasted meat in front of Zhuodong. This time, it didn't eat it, but sent it to Sikong Chiyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi. "I don't know how to describe my feelings at this moment," Zhuodong exhaled and said. "Who can you blame? Little Purple is psychic. It will be nice to whoever is nice to it. Am I right, Little Purple?" Yang Lei waved at the Void Purple Light Snake King, who was floating in the air. The Void Purple Light Snake King wriggled its body and nodded like a human. "You should adapt to the situation. If you can't afford to offend or hide from it, just accept your fate and offer it to us. Don't worry about it," Night Sorrow said with a smile. "Longjin, you are the prince of the Golden Dragon clan. Aren't you born to suppress dragons and snakes? Why did Little Purple bully you a few days ago?" Zhuodong looked at Longjin and asked. Longjin glanced at Zhuodong with disdain. Little Purple is a void creature called Purple Light Snake, which is different from dragons and snakes. Now the whole team called the Void Purple Light Snake King Little Purple Light Snake King Little Purple, but only Night Sorrow and Sikong Chiyu could agree. After camping for a day, Little Z received the news from her subordinates and found the whereabouts of Immerse and the others. Little Purple told Night Sorrow the details. There were about 60 people in Immerse's team. Little Purple didn't know the situation of the Demon Wing clan, but it knew dragon-headed and snake-headed people. Night Sorrow looked at the team and said, "The Demon Wing clan's team is very strong. There are many emperors, dragon-headed and snake-headed people. Among them, there are 3 whose strength the void purple light snake couldn't detect. One is from the Demon Wing clan, and the other 2 are dragon-headed and snake-headed people. After sharing the information with the team, Knight Sorrow fell into deep thought. He had to think about the next situation. There were many emperors in the Demon Wing clan's team. It would be difficult for his team to defeat the Demon Wing clan's team. After all, there were only a few emperors in the God-slaying team. It was almost impossible for them to defeat the Demon Wing clan's team without any casualties. Captain, if you can detect emperors, why can't you detect their strength? Longjin asked, puzzled. It means that there are cultivators above the Emperor Tribulation. The dragon-headed and snake-headed people in their team should be the ones that were taken away by the Demon Wing clan. They are the elites of the dragon-headed and snake-headed people. Knight Sorrow said, Commander, we will kill them the way you want us to, Bai Lingling said. Retreating is impossible. Asking for help is also a bit embarrassing. After all, this team didn't arouse the senses of my martial Kingya. Let's go and test their strength. However, everyone must remember one thing. Do not block my soul power. This way, I will lead everyone to retreat. It will be safer. Knight Sorrow spoke his thoughts. Naturally, no one objected to Knight Sorrow's thoughts. The group rushed towards the area where the void purple light snake had reported. In order to not be discovered by the other party, Knight Sorrow personally acted as the scout. At this moment, Mo Yuqian and his team were surveying the terrain and setting up a suitable defensive array according to the terrain. This way, they could suppress the space and allow the teleportation array to teleport normally. The dragon-headed and snake-headed people didn't have any cultivation in Array Dao. They could only scout the surrounding area. Mo Yutian was in charge of keeping watch. Mo Lu led his team to repair the terrain and prepare the array foundation for the defensive array. After taking a look at the surrounding situation, Mo Yutian frowned. He had detected the arrival of Knight Sorrow and his team. Chapter 2007. Grand Elder, have we been discovered? Mo Lu's face was full of surprise. They're moving in this direction again. I don't know how they set their route. Let's move to another place. Mo Yutian ordered. Mo Lu didn't ask any more questions. Mo Yutian's decision was unquestionable. He was giving an order, not asking for advice. Mo Yutian put his team into the space treasure and flew away. At this time, Little Purple told Knight Sorrow about the situation of the Demon Wing clan's team. The void purple light snakes under its command had a special method of communication. One by one, they passed the information to him. Knight Sorrow was a little puzzled. According to Little Purple's report, the other party had started to move when they were still more than 200,000 miles away. This didn't make sense because his detection range was more than 100,000 miles. The other party's detection range was too wide. Unable to figure out, Knight Sorrow told the team to stop and then explain the situation to everyone. Knight Sorrow felt that since he couldn't figure it out himself, they should think about it together. Maybe they could figure it out. Knight Sorrow, the other party moved in advance twice. This means that they might have some method to detect our approach, just like how we could detect their location, Sikong Chiyu said. We were able to find them because Little Purple led the group of void purple light snakes to help us. How do they find us? Lin Yun said something she didn't understand. We don't know what special detection method they have. Little Purple asked the void purple light snakes to continue to search in the direction where they disappeared. Let's not give them time to stabilize. Chiyu, tell Sister Xian about our situation and communicate with the Grand Elder or Uncle Master. Let's see if they have any different opinions. After thinking for a while, Knight Sorrow made a decision. They had to stabilize the current situation first and then find a solution to the root of the problem. Zhuo Dong, Lin Yun, and the others nodded. Although there was a direct solution, they couldn't choose to do so. Knight Sorrow didn't choose to do so, and they didn't suggest it either. They notified King Yawu and asked him to come and kill him. Since King Yawu did not sense it, it meant that the Demon Wings clan was not as strong as King Yawu. The strong had their dignity and pride, so they disdained to attack low-level cultivators. This kind of unspoken rule was also based on the training of the human race and the descendants of the Heaven Realm's 100 clans. If all the problems were solved by the seniors, the juniors would lose the pressure and the ability to resist difficulties. Knight Sorrow led his men to set up camp while waiting for news from the Void Purple Light Snake and the Grand Elder's conclusion. Mou Tien led the Demon Winged clan, the Dragon-Headed clan, and the Snake-Headed clan forward. After traveling a long distance, he chose to stop and continue surveying the terrain. Mou Tien, who was in charge of scouting and alerting, was also thinking. If the Demon Wings clan wanted to do something in the Celestial Realm, they had to establish a stronghold on Reincarnation Island. However, there was a group tailing them, preventing them from proceeding smoothly. One day later, Knight Sorrow received the news. Not only did Little Purple receive the news, Sikong Chiyu also received the news from the Grand Elder that Lin Piamiao brought. The current situation meant that the other party's scouting ability was stronger than Knight Sorrow's group. Normally, a peak Emperor's scouting range was 200,000 miles, while an Emperor's Tribulation's range was 300,000 miles. However, in the harsh environment of Reincarnation Island, the scouting range would be halved. Knight Sorrow's soul power was 1/3 of a normal cultivator's. After scouting 100,000 miles on Reincarnation Island, it was normal for him to reach 120,000 miles. However, the other party was able to discover Knight Sorrow from 200,000 miles away. This meant that they were an Emperor's Tribulation cultivator. Emperor's Tribulation's scouting range was halved on Reincarnation Island and could only reach 150,000 miles. This situation meant that the Demon Wings clan's group either had a special method to discover Knight Sorrow, or there was an Emperor's Tribulation cultivator hiding their cultivation level. They used a secret technique to hide their cultivation level, but their soul power's scouting ability was still present. Although he knew there was danger, Knight Sorrow didn't think the other party would easily make a move. Otherwise, they wouldn't have avoided them twice. Rest for 2 days, and then continue forward. Knight Sorrow made his decision. As an array Dao expert, Knight Sorrow knew that it was impossible to set up a formation that could affect an entire region in a short period of time. Therefore, he wasn't in a hurry. Knight Sorrow wasn't in a hurry. He had to think carefully. The more critical the situation was, the calmer he had to be. The team was still reorganizing. Knight Sorrow stood at the edge of the camp and pondered. He felt that there were 2 possibilities for the other party to discover them in advance. One was that the former dragon-headed and snake-headed people might have some tricks up their sleeves. The other was that the Grand Elder and the others had deduced that there was an expert with powerful soul power hidden in the Demon Wings clan's group. This situation was very dangerous. Knight Sorrow was pondering. The team camped quietly. No one disturbed them. Even the Void Purple Light Snake King was very quiet. It also knew how to control the fire. In the Desolate City, the Desolate City's City Lord, the Grand Elder, and King Yawu were sitting together in the Desolate Tower. Knight Sorrow has the help of the Void Purple Light Snake. It's not easy for the Demon Wings clan's group to set up a formation in peace. However, we don't know the situation of the Demon Wings clan's group at present. This is a bit passive. The Grand Elder said, "Look at the official version, Zhang O. Part 1. Yawu, we can't stick to the rules. We can't afford to lose to Knight Sorrow. If the other party finds out that Knight Sorrow is important to the 100 races of the Celestial Realm, they'll throw away their principles and personality and attack Knight Sorrow at all costs," the City Lord said. "Yes, this is related to the overall situation and the direction of the war. If the other party attacks by hook or by crook, we'll be at a disadvantage. It'll be irreversible," the Grand Elder said. "Then I'll meet up with Knight Sorrow and the others. If there's no Emperor's Tribulation cultivator, let them deal with it themselves. They also need to sharpen themselves. If the other party has experts, we'll kill them." King Yawu nodded. After thinking for a while at the edge of the camp, Knight Sorrow looked at King Yawu's crystal ball in his hand and made a decision. He would continue to investigate, but not attack directly. He would find a way to approach the other party silently and find out the other party's background. Having made his decision, Knight Sorrow waved at the Purple Snake King and said, Little Purple, come here." Seeing Night Sorrow summon, the Purple Snake King shuttled to Night Sorrow's side. "Here's the thing. The first 2 times we approached the other party, we were discovered before we even got close. This time, I plan to approach through the spatial turbulence. Can you take a spatial treasure and go through the spatial turbulence?" Night Sorrow asked. If Little Purple wasn't by his side, Night Sorrow would naturally enter the spatial turbulence himself. Now that Little Purple was by his side, and Little Purple had a special talent that allowed it to travel through space better than him, he naturally had to ask. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Little Purple nodded. It understood what Night Sorrow meant. Besides, it wouldn't be difficult for it to bring a spatial treasure. Chapter 2008. After gathering the team, Night Sorrow explained his plan and asked for everyone's opinion. In the team, orders were obeyed, but that was only after the decision was made. Now, Night Sorrow still wanted to ask for everyone's opinion. He didn't want to act on his own. After all, everyone had the right to control their own destiny. However, the result of Night Sorrow's inquiry was no different from not asking. Even if he said that there might be a powerful warrior in the Demon Wing clan and that the team might be in danger, everyone still supported Night Sorrow's decision. "Thank you for your trust. I feel no pressure fighting side by side with you. You are my solid backing. You will never say anything that will hinder me," said Night Sorrow with a smile. "Captain, you are a qualified commander. You have led everyone back from many battles without any injuries. Every time, you have arranged everything perfectly. We feel at ease fighting with you. So what if there is danger? So what if we die in battle? I have no regrets to fight with you for the rest of my life," said Ho Jian. "Yes, we are brothers. Brothers fight side by side. Even if we die in battle, we will have no regrets." Yin Huang also stood out. Then, the sound of the god-slaying team knocking on their breastplates was heard. "If the little guys are fine, then the sergeants of the First Army will have no problem," said Flower without words. The god-slaying team didn't refute Flower without words. The sergeants of the First Army had the right to say so. The members of the god-slaying team were indeed young. In the eyes of the sergeants of the First Army, they were indeed little guys and dolls. In addition, the sergeants of the First Army also took good care of the members of the god-slaying team. When they were camping, they would share some knowledge about the celestial realm with the god-slaying team. "Night Sorrow, I have nothing to say. I am happy to have you as my brothers. Let's go." Night Sorrow's soul power swept over everyone. Then, with a vibration, everyone was sucked into the 8-dragon cauldron. Then, he also entered the 8-dragon cauldron and let Little Purple take the cauldron. Little Purple circled around and wrapped the 8-dragon cauldron in her body. Then, she tore the space apart and entered the space turbulence. This speed, this shuttling ability is indeed powerful. Tianyu and the others were indeed shocked, because this was Little Purple's true speed. Night Sorrow knew that Little Violet was strong, but he was still surprised that Little Violet could use her full speed, because she was much stronger than him. Night Sorrow told Little Purple that the 8-dragon tripod was placed beside it, and it just needed to listen to his orders. He had this idea, because when Night Sorrow felt that there was danger, Little Purple took the space magic treasure and evacuated faster than him. In the turbulence of the void, Little Purple's speed was extremely fast. She was rapidly approaching Mo Yutian and the others. Night Sorrow took out a towel and wiped the blood-Kirin evil punishing spear. He was preparing for the upcoming battle. If he could catch his opponent's shadow, then killing his opponent was natural. The sergeants of the First Army and the God-Slaying Squad did the same. They were all ready for battle. It didn't take long for them to reach the area that Little Purple could scout. Little Purple reported the situation to Yishan. In terms of numbers, Night Sorrow's men had an absolute advantage. However, in terms of individual combat strength, they were at a disadvantage because the Devil-Winged race had more emperors. When they were close to 30,000 miles away, Night Sorrow could scout by himself. Because his soul power had to penetrate the spatial barrier to scout, the scouting distance was greatly shortened. 30,000 miles was already the limit. After personally discovering the opponent's situation, Night Sorrow made battle arrangements. Lin Yun, you and Zhuodong will lead the strongest team to deal with the snake-head man with blood-red pupils. Long Jin, you and Tianyu will lead a team to deal with the golden-haired dragon-headed man. Lin Yun, Zhuodong, Long Jin, and Tianyu all nodded. They knew that Knight Soro's arrangement was the most reasonable. Long Jin was the prince of the golden dragon race and could suppress any demonic beast or divine beast cultivator with a bloodline of dragons. Although Lin Yun's bloodline could also suppress ordinary divine beasts, it was not as effective as Long Jin's suppression of the dragon-headed man. Tiger Cold, flower without words. Although you two joined the First Army later, your combat strength is recognized by everyone. Tiger Cold is even at the Emperor rank. You two will lead a team to deal with the other purple-robed devil-winged race member. Knight Sorrow also arranged Mo Lu's opponents. Currently, the strongest in the devil-winged race team was Mo Yutian. Knight Sorrow and Little Purple both discovered that he was the leader of the team. Following him were the dragon-headed man, leader Xiang Long, and the snake-head man, leader Su Yuan, followed by the other emperors. Normal emperors, even middle-class emperors, weren't much of a threat to Yishang's troops. This was because the first commander's peak emperors had great teamwork and were able to restrain emperors. Little Purple, look after everyone. If there is any danger, help them. You may hate me, but they're the future of the celestial realm. Knight Sorrow stood inside the 8-dragon cauldron and said to Little Purple. What responded to Knight Sorrow was an affirmative soul ripple. Soon after, Knight Sorrow waved his left hand forward and had Little Purple quickly approach. Mo Yutian was patrolling inside and outside the team's camp. At the same time, he was pondering over this operation. He knew he had to be careful because he knew King Yawu was on Reincarnation Island. Mo Yutian had the devil race's ancestral artifact Wheel of Life and Death to conceal his aura. King Yawu couldn't detect him, but Mo Yutian had already sensed King Yawu's aura. This made Mo Yutian hesitate and didn't dare to make any big moves. King Yawu was a giant of the Celestial Realm's 100 races and one of the 2 city lords of the Celestial Realm. Mo Yutian didn't want to provoke him. He knew that it was very difficult to defeat King Yawu. Back then, he had tested Peerless Sword Emperor Yin Wushuang's strength. He was inferior to Yin Wushuang, not to mention that King Yawu was Yin Wushuang's senior brother and the first city lord of Desolate City. His reputation was above Yin Wushuang's. Everyone, hurry up and set up the defensive formation. I will set up a concealment formation to confuse the heavenly secrets and completely hide this place. Mo Yutian shouted to his subordinates. After roaring, Mo Yutian turned around and looked at the void on the left side of the station. His eyes flashed with a cold light because he felt the fluctuation of the void energy. It was mainly because Little Purple was flying with the 8-dragon cauldron, so her compatibility with the void of heaven and earth had decreased, which was why Mo Yutian had discovered it in advance. #K. Positive, first 5 shots of X, you want to die? Even if I don't activate my cultivation, it's enough to kill all of you. After detecting Little Purple and discovering the space magic treasure on her, Mo Yutian understood everything. He understood why he had been discovered twice. Little Purple had a space magic treasure on her, which meant that she was related to the Heaven Realm's 100 clans. Little Purple went out of the space. Knight Sorrow's soul power vibrated and rolled everyone out of the 8-dragon cauldron. Chapter 2009. I didn't want to bother with you, but since you want to die, you can't blame anyone. Yuchinamo looked at Knight Sorrow, and a halberd appeared in his hand. It was very similar to the reincarnation halberd that Knight Sorrow's main body held. The Desolate Halberd was the Demon Wing clan's most precious divine weapon. Yuchinamo had seen it in the hands of the demon ancestor before, so he made one according to its size and style. It was called the Great Desolate Halberd. Holding the Great Desolate Halberd, Yuchinamo swung it at Knight Sorrow. With a muffled sound, Knight Sorrow was sent flying. The violent energy impact made Knight Sorrow spit out a mouthful of blood. Knight Sorrow was at a disadvantage in this exchange. Yuqian Mo had used the strength of one of the 9 Emperors' tribulation of the heavenly Tao. Coupled with his powerful soul power, Night Sorrow was unable to withstand it. Night Sorrow had not vomited blood for a long time. The main reason was that the gap between him and Yuqian Mo was too big. In terms of realm and energy, Yuqian Mo was able to crush him. The team led by Lin Yun and Zhuodong was also not good. They were suppressed by the snake-headed leader. How long could they last was a problem. "Captain, this guy is too strong," Long Jin also shouted. Night Sorrow knew that there was a serious error in his estimation. The team led by him had no chance of defeating the Demon Wing clan. This was the consequence of underestimating Yuqian Mo. When everyone appeared, they were in Yuqian Mo's domain. In other words, Yuqian Mo's domain had concealed the aura of the experts in this team. Even if there were dragon-headed and snake-headed people in the Demon Wing clan, King Yawu could not sense them. Night Sorrow's reincarnation domain burst forth and forcefully counteracted the suppression of Yuqian Mo's domain. Then his soul power burst out and wrapped the first team's soldiers and members of the god-slaying team, pulling them into the 8-dragon cauldron. Retreat. Feeling that it was impossible, Night Sorrow decided not to fight. If he continued to fight, he would die. Want to run? If you don't know when to stop, then don't even think about leaving. Yuqian Mo Ward. His left hand punched towards Night Sorrow, while the great desolate war halberd in his right hand smashed towards Little Purple. He knew that Night Sorrow wanted to take the troops into the spatial treasure on Little Purple's back. The reason why Mo Yutian used his weapon to attack Little Purple was because he thought highly of Little Purple. Little Purple was a 2-Emperor calamity, while Night Sorrow was at the Emperor realm. There was a huge gap between the two. Even though he had paid attention to Little Purple, Mo Yutian's halberd still missed because Little Purple's speed was too fast. After dodging Imperial Mo's attack, Little Purple's body trembled as she continued to charge forward, breaking through Imperial Mo's domain's seal on the space. Together with Night Sorrow's soul power, she pulled the soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-slaying squad into the 8-dragon cauldron. Look at the YM. Verse MQ above equals Q, Little Purple, retreat. Night Sorrow shouted at the Purple Void Snake King. Little Purple carried out Night Sorrow's orders without hesitation. She flashed into the turbulence of the void. They ran away. It doesn't matter if they ran away. They are just a bunch of trash. Today, I will kill you, and that will be enough. Yuqian Mo was no longer distracted as he focused all his attention on Night Sorrow. His domain began to suppress the surrounding space. In other words, it wouldn't be easy for Night Sorrow and Little Purple to come into contact with each other. Night Sorrow knew that the gap between him and Yuqian Mo was huge. He immediately used the Void Step to dodge. He wanted to find a chance to escape. If he didn't, this clone of his might die. Hiding the head, but showing the tail. You're not a big shot. Night Sorrow constantly flashed as he dodged Yuqian Mo's attacks. Shut up. I, Yuqian of the Devil Wing clan, am not someone a piece of trash like you can slander. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Mo Lu was very angry. Night Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. He knew that he had bumped into a big shot. He knew the names of the 3 great heavens of the Devil Wing clan. Yuqian Mo, Mo Zhantian, and Mo Tianji had the same status in the Devil Wing clan as the Tianwang City Lord, King Yawu, and the Grand Elder had the same status in the Celestial Realm. Run. He had to run. Night Sorrow knew that if the stalemate continued, this clone of his would die. Furthermore, there would be repercussions if his clone died in the hands of a big shot of the Devil Wing clan. The 9-domain origin bead was with his main body. If his clone died, his soul power would be destroyed or even collected to injure his main body with a secret technique. At this time, the Devil Wing clan had formed a circle and bombarded Night Sorrow with all kinds of attacks. Crisis. Night Sorrow had encountered an unprecedented crisis. At this time, he was already injured. It was because he didn't know the situation that he took Yuqian Mo's first attack. Night Sorrow used the Void Step and the Space-Time Realm to dodge and defend against Yuqian Mo's attack. As for the attacks of Mo Lu and the others, Night Sorrow didn't have the energy to pay attention to them. The main reason was that those attacks weren't fatal. Yuchinmo's attack was the most terrifying. Night Sorrow also crushed King Yowu's soul crystal ball. However, he felt that there wasn't much hope. No matter how fast King Yowu was, he would still need some time. During this time, Yuchinmo could kill him a few times. In the turbulent void, Sikong Chiyu and the other's soul power passed through the 8-dragon cauldron and the spatial barrier to observe the battle. Everyone was extremely nervous. They all knew what the situation was. The Devil Wing clan was a huge pit. They didn't fight with them at the beginning because of other reasons. Little Violet, fly at a safe distance. See if there's a chance to bring Night Sorrow back. Sikong Chiyu communicated with Little Violet. Sikong Chiyu was very worried about Night Sorrow. However, she couldn't ignore the safety of more than 300 people. Therefore, when she told Little Violet that she would bring Night Sorrow back, it was also under the premise that the team was safe. Sikong Chiyu, Yang Lei, and Atoy didn't contact Lin Piamiao either. They saw Night Sorrow crush King Yowu's soul crystal ball. Moreover, it was too late to inform King Yowu now. Mo Yutian's attacks were extremely violent and powerful. Night Sorrow used the space-time realm to defend himself. Because Mo Yutian also had achievements in the space-time attribute, he could hurt Night Sorrow through the spatial barrier. Even after Night Sorrow's space-time realm weakened the time and space, Night Sorrow's injuries continued to worsen. Night Sorrow was shocked by the strength of Mo Yutian's attacks. Mo Yutian was also shocked by Night Sorrow's combat strength. Even low-level Emperor Tribulation cultivators weren't as difficult to kill as Night Sorrow. Human emperors of the human race are indeed strong and have excellent potential. However, you are unlucky to have met me. Mo Yutian increased the suppression of his domain. At the same time, his halberd attacks became even more violent. Blessing of the power of merit. After being recognized by Mo Yutian, Night Sorrow didn't hesitate and used the power of merit to strengthen his domain. He didn't use the power of merit first because he was afraid that Mo Yutian would find out his identity and kill him at all costs. Since Mo Yutian had made it clear, Night Sorrow had no more scruples. Chapter 2010. Dodge and Defend. That was all Night Sorrow could do. Although offense was the best defense, Night Sorrow could not fight Yutian Mo head-on. If he did, he would be giving Yutian an opportunity to hurt him. Night Sorrow charged toward the members of the Devil Wing clan. He wanted them to become obstacles for Yutian Mo to attack him. Get out of the way. Yutian Mo knew that King Yowu was coming, so he wanted to kill Night Sorrow with all his might. He knew how important Night Sorrow was to the human race and the 100 races of the celestial realm. Yutian Mo was faster than Yishang. Xiang Long and Sui Yuan were also faster than Yishang, but the other members of the demon-winged race were not as fast. They were left behind by Yishang and became obstacles for Yutian Mo to attack him. Knowing that time was running out, Yutian Mo waved his great desolate war halberd. Sharp astral chi shot toward Night Sorrow. Some dragon-headed and snake-headed people could not dodge in time and were killed. Percent Forever S. Free to Read novel. Night Sorrow was also hit. A halberd light from the Great Desolate War halberd pierced through his body. Fortunately, Night Sorrow's virtuous immortal body was strong and only a part of his body was injured. His body was not destroyed by the energy. While using the Void Steps and Space-Time Realm, Night Sorrow used the Desolate Nirvana Palm to control the members of the Devil-Winged clan. Then, the energy hand grabbed them and threw them behind him. Damn it! Great Desolate Extreme, Dao, kill. Yutian Mo roared and waved the Great Desolate War Halberd, using his ultimate move. Several black energy dragons flew toward Night Sorrow. Everything in the path of the energy dragons collapsed. The Devil-Winged clan members, dragon-headed people, and snake-headed people were all killed. Knowing that he couldn't dodge, Night Sorrow turned around, his entire body bursting with energy. The Blood Kirin evil vanquishing spear trembled as it performed the Void Extreme Kill and Void Return to Origin Kill. He wanted to turn the space in front of him into his own energy attack zone, blocking Imperial Mo's energy bombardment. With a loud explosion, Knight Soro's sleeves were torn to shreds. His hands and forearms were covered in blood, and only his golden bones and tendons were left. His body was sent flying by the impact of the energy, and he spat out blood again. Even though Mo Yutian had used his heavenly Tao 9 Emperor's Tribulation cultivation, he had still managed to severely injure Knight Sorrow. Looking at Knight Sorrow, who was sent flying away but still in a highly focused state, Demon Royal waved his sleeves and brought the remaining members of his team into his space magic tool. Then, with a wave of the great desolate war halberd, he cut open the space barrier and vanished. Seeing Knight Sorrow's state, Mo Yutian knew that Knight Sorrow could still fight. He knew that it was unrealistic to kill Knight Sorrow in a few moves. If he delayed any longer, King Yawu would arrive. At that time, it would be a real bloody battle, and he didn't want to engage in such a battle right now. As for using his full cultivation, it wouldn't be difficult to kill Knight Sorrow. Once he used his full cultivation, the effect of the Wheel of Life and Death would no longer exist. When the opportunity appeared, he would no longer have a foothold on the Reincarnation Island. This operation would be a complete failure. Mo Yutian wouldn't choose to do that. After Mo Yutian left, Knight Sorrow's body floated down from the sky. His fleshless right hand supported his body with a blood-Kirin evil vanquishing spear, but blood kept flowing out of his mouth. Little Z returned to Knight Sorrow's side. Looking at Little Z, Knight Sorrow smiled. Then, his body went limp and half-knelt on the ground. He didn't know why Mo Yutian suddenly left. He really couldn't hold on any longer. He wouldn't be able to block that kind of attack twice. Just as Knight Sorrow was about to enter the 8-Dragon Cauldron and let Little Z take everyone away, a spatial storm appeared. A human figure condensed and waved his hand, wrapping Knight Sorrow with energy and stabilizing the chaotic energy in Knight Sorrow's body. Martial Uncle. Seeing who it was, Knight Sorrow felt relieved. Then, he didn't know what happened next. After helping Knight Sorrow sit down, King Yawu looked at the void. He had already rushed over as fast as he could, but he was still a bit slow. However, he felt that the situation was good. At least, he didn't let Knight Sorrow die. King Yawu didn't chase after him. He didn't have Mo Yutian's sensing ability and couldn't determine the direction. The 8-Dragon Cauldron had an implement spirit. The implement spirit knew Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi. At their request, even without Knight Sorrow's control, the implement spirit let everyone out. Is Knight Sorrow okay? Sikong Chuyu supported the unconscious Knight Sorrow and looked at King Yawu worriedly. It's not a big problem. He's tough. He didn't die even after encountering a top master of the Demon Wing clan. Very good. King Yawu's face was filled with relief and anger. He was relieved that Knight Sorrow was only seriously injured. He was angry that Mo Yutian had controlled his aura to come to the Reincarnation Island and almost killed a human sovereign. King Yawu asked everyone to set up camp. Then, he helped Knight Sorrow to keep Mo Yutian in his body and force out the destructive energy that was constantly producing. Then, Knight Sorrow woke up. His arms had recovered a little. He cultivated the Myriad Tao Tome, so the strength of his body was comparable to his cultivation. His regenerative ability was extremely strong, so it wasn't difficult for him to regenerate his flesh. No wonder that guy didn't continue to kill me. He knew that Uncle Master was coming. Your deterrence saved my life. Knight Sorrow glanced at his sleeveless battle robe. Then, he stood up and saluted King Yawu. The key is whether you can withstand it. If you can't, you will be killed before Uncle Master arrives. No one could do anything about it. King Yawu smiled at Knight Sorrow. He was very relieved because Knight Sorrow satisfied him and made him happy. He even said that he saw the future. Even if he suppressed his cultivation, he almost killed me. He just didn't have the time, Knight Sorrow said. That was Mo Yutian, one of the 3 grand heavens of the Demon Wing clan. Like Uncle Master, the city lord of Tianhuang City, and the Grand Elder, he has lived for 8 eras. Isn't his strength frightening? This is your tribulation. Since you didn't die, it means you survived. Don't worry about your injuries and let the void purple light snake continue to search for their whereabouts. Next time, I'll act, said King Yawu to Yishang. In the past, when King Yawu found traces of the Demon Wing clan, he didn't take action. That was because of his dignity as a strong cultivator and also to train his descendants. Now that he had confirmed the strength of the other party, it was time for him to take action. Night Sorrow told Little Z to continue searching for the Demon Wing clan. Then, Yang Lei helped him into Qian Yu's tent to heal his injuries. Brother Sher-san, are you okay? Yimei asked worriedly. It's nothing. It's just that my body was damaged by the impact of the energy. The energy was forced out of my body by Uncle Master. I'll be fine after some recovery, but the feeling of being powerless is not good. I can only passively dodge and can't even fight back, Night Sorrow said with a sigh. This battle allowed Night Sorrow to see what a top expert was like. Even if he suppressed his cultivation, his actual combat strength was still shocking. That bastard is too shameless. He's a big shot of the Demon Wing clan. How dare he attack us? But our situation is not optimistic, Tianyu cursed. The overall situation doesn't matter. Mo Tianji is trapped in the Nether Realm. Her cultivation is below the Emperor Realm. It's hard for me to find her, but as long as she dares to enter the Emperor Realm, I can find her. So, she won't be able to do anything. With Uncle Master restraining Mo Yuqian, he won't be able to do anything in the Reincarnation Island, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. Chapter 2011. Yes, I don't have the energy or time to look for her now. However, as long as she dares to break through to the Arch Realm, the world's origin will lock onto her, Night Sorrow said. She won't be able to do much below the Arch Realm. We can catch her if she's above the Arch Realm. In this situation, she won't be a threat, I always said. Yishang nodded. He was indeed not worried that Mo Tianji would be able to cause any trouble in the Nine Regions world. She had possessed Zhu Jiyun, who was a heaven monarch. After fusing with Zhu Jiyun's body, she would have to transcend the tribulation if she wanted to do anything. Sikong Chiyu and the others chatted with Night Sorrow for a while before leaving Night Sorrow's tent. Night Sorrow needed to heal himself. King Yawu stood outside the campsite, looking terrible. He was furious. He had been tricked by Mo Yuqian this time. Night Sorrow was fine. If something had happened to Night Sorrow, he wouldn't have been able to make up for it no matter what he did or how he took revenge. After everyone left the tent, Night Sorrow entered the Eight-Dragon Cauldron to heal himself. He was seriously injured this time. Fortunately, King Yawu helped him to expel all the energy that Mo Yuqian had left in his body. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for Night Sorrow to recover. Mo Yuqian's energy was extremely domineering. It wasn't something that Night Sorrow's energy could suppress. Half a month later, Night Sorrow came out of seclusion and looked better. Seeing Night Sorrow come out, King Yawu went to him and smiled. This is one of your qualifications. This qualification has been recognized by the Council of Elders. It's rare that you could survive against Mo Yuqian, one of the three giants of the Demon Wing clan. I didn't have the strength to fight back. It was very depressing, Night Sorrow said. Mo Yuqian is an expert who has lived for 8 eras. What's his cultivation? 8 Emperor Tribulation. How many rounds do you plan to fight with him? King Yawu laughed after hearing Night Sorrow's words. He's also a human, not a god. I can't defeat him now, but I will in the future. Night Sorrow was filled with fighting spirit. King Yawu looked at Night Sorrow with a serious expression. He had always been worried that Mo Yuqian's tyrannical strength would cast a shadow on Night Sorrow. But now, he realized that he was wrong. Night Sorrow was not affected at all. Instead, he was getting more and more courageous, and his battle intent was soaring. Uncle Master, I will try my best, but it will take some time, Night Sorrow said. I believe in you. As long as you are willing, there is nothing you can't do. This time, it seems to be a good thing. You can feel the strength and aura of a real expert in advance. King Yawu patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. Night Sorrow walked around the campsite and found that the sergeants of the First Army and the members of the Deicide Squad were either meditating or practicing their combat skills. After walking around, Night Sorrow waved at the nothingness purple light Snake King that was wandering around the campsite. The nothingness purple light Snake King circled around and landed on Night Sorrow's arm. "Little Purple, thank you. At that time, I was afraid that my brothers and sisters would be in danger." Night Sorrow reached out and patted the nothingness purple light Snake King's body. The nothingness purple light Snake King's body trembled, and then some soul waves were transmitted into Night Sorrow's spiritual sea. Little Purple felt that it was what it should do. It was also a part of the celestial realm, so it should do what it should do. Night Sorrow reached out and patted the nothingness purple light Snake King's head. "Little Purple, you are good. If the celestial realm wins the war on the Samsara Island, you will make a great contribution." H.Kel, after listening to Night Sorrow's words, the nothingness purple light Snake King excitedly circled around Night Sorrow's arm. Night Sorrow and Little Purple communicated again. The group of nothingness purple light snakes began a comprehensive investigation on the Samsara Island. They began to set up defenses in the areas where formations could be set up, but to no avail. This result was within Night Sorrow's expectations. At this time, the Celestial Realm and Heaven Wasteland were in a showdown on the Samsara Island. They were even aware of each other's strength. Naturally, Immerse could not act at will. If he and the team stayed in the space magic treasure, the group of nothingness purple light snakes would not be able to find them. Night Sorrow and the others did not act again. If the group of nothingness purple light snakes could not find the whereabouts of the Demon Wing clan, then it was even more hopeless for the team to find them. It was better to rest and cultivate. 2 months later, the Grand Elder brought the Spirit Tree Elder and Ashur Shuchuan of the Spirit Tree clan to the Samsara Island. They arranged for Ashur Shuchuan to stay in some of the required security areas on the Samsara Island. Then, they also came to the campsite. The Grand Elder knew that Night Sorrow and Immerse had met. He also felt somewhat lucky because Night Sorrow's accident would have a great impact on the Celestial Realm. The Human Emperor was the symbol of the Celestial Realm. If he died, the consequences would be very serious. The Grand Elder and King Yawu stood outside the campsite and looked at the storm in the sky. "Lord Yawu City, we are really lucky this time." However, Night Sorrow was also greatly affected. Immerse and the others hid too well, the Grand Elder said. "I was also worried at first. I was worried that Night Sorrow would be affected and his momentum would be affected. However, in reality, Night Sorrow's mentality is very good. It has increased his motivation," King Yawu said. He could understand the Grand Elder's worries, because he had the same worries before. "Wu Shuang has taken in a good disciple. How enviable." Night Sorrow was exiled when he came to the heavenly desolate city for the first time. That Xiao Jun was also very fast. I did not see him during the night. Otherwise, it would not have been Wu Shuang's turn, the Grand Elder said. The Grand Elder cultivated the Spear Dao and did not have a suitable disciple until now. If Yin Wushuang had found Night Sorrow before he met Night Sorrow, he would have definitely taken a Night Sorrow as his disciple. This is fate. However, he can't inherit Wushuang's mantle yet. He can't accept anyone's inheritance because he has his own Dao, and it is the great Dao, King Yawu said. Then what about Wushuang's sword Dao? That is one of the top inheritances of humans. It cannot be broken. After hearing King Yawu's words, the Grand Elder thought of another problem. It will not be broken. When Night Sorrow's Dao is formed, he will not be influenced by other Daos. Where he can use other Daos to perfect himself, Wushuang's sword Dao can be inherited. Fen Tian is more suitable, but he will have to wait. King Yawu shook his head. He was not worried that Yin Wushuang's inheritance would be broken. Fen Tian was very suitable, but he would have to wait until Night Sorrow could study sword Dao. After Immerse left with the Demon Wing clan, he hid with the help of a spatial treasure. He also knew that the reason why Night Sorrow and the others had discovered him several times was because the void purple light snakes were the spies of the celestial realm. Great Elder Yutian, what should we do now? Mo Lu felt that the prospects of this operation were not very good because they had been in a passive state. It's not easy to deal with. We will continue to look for opportunities. If it doesn't work, then we can only give up on this strategic deployment. The Celestial Realm has already made arrangements for what we can think of, Mo Yutian said. Chapter 2012. Tell me the details. Yuqian and Mo looked at Xiang Long and asked. There is a large cavern in the inner part of the Demon Mountain. The energy storm inside is not too strong, and the area is large enough to set up a formation. Setting up a defensive formation inside the cavern should not be a problem to defend against the Void Storm and Void Storm, Xiang Long said. That's a good choice. Let's go and take a look. After some thought, Yutian and Mo felt that Xiang Long's suggestion was more feasible. Then I will lead the way. Xiang Long said. No, the void purple light snakes are their eyes. Everyone enter the spatial treasure. Xiang Long, you'll lead the way. Xiang Long, Zhiyuan, if this is successful, I will recommend you to enter the Demon Lord Palace. I will even allow your 2 tribes to marry into the Demon Wing tribe. Yuqian and Mo looked at Xiang Long and Zhiyuan. The Demon Wing tribe valued bloodlines very much. They constantly developed descendants of other tribes, but the direct bloodline was always pure. Those with direct bloodlines would only marry members of the same bloodline. Hearing Yutian Mo's words, Xiang Long and Zhiyuan bowed in gratitude. Once they entered the Demon Lord Palace, they would become elders of the Demon Wing tribe. Their status and position would be very high, and they would be respected by the Demon Wing tribe. As for marriage, even if it was a side branch, it would allow the dragon-headed and snake-headed people to survive and establish a foothold in the Demon Wing tribe. Under Xiang Long's guidance, Yutian and Mo hurried along with the spatial treasure. His soul power was strong, and he could detect the void purple light snakes in advance. Hence, he was not afraid of being discovered. Yutian Mo's speed was extremely fast, and he managed to avoid all of the void purple light snakes from afar. However, he did not notice that while he was flying, there were 2 beads below him that were different from other plants. They were 2 trees with stone-like skin. On this day, Knight Sorrow, who was practicing his spear skills, was called into the tent by King Yawu. In the tent, the Grand Elder and Elder Spiritual Tree were seated. Greetings, Grand Elder. Greetings, Elder Spiritual Tree. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands in greeting. Haha, you are still so polite. You are the human emperor of the celestial realm. You don't need to greet anyone. Elder Lingshu returned the greeting to Knight Sorrow. Human emperor doesn't need it, but Knight Sorrow does. Knight Sorrow respects seniors who work hard for the celestial realm, Knight Sorrow said. Let's all sit down and talk. Knight Sorrow, the situation is like this. The Spirit Tree clan's Shirshu found Mo Yutian flying past this area. King Yawu pointed at a map on the table. The map was based on a map drawn by Bilingualing, with some additions. It was a map of the entire Reincarnation Island. At this time, King Yawu pointed to an area. Knight Sorrow took a look and then looked at Elder Spirit Tree. Did Shirshu report the direction of Mo Yutian's flight and which direction he flew in when he passed by? Yes, he flew from the northwest to the southeast, Elder Spirit Tree said. Southeast. Southeast. Let me think. Normally, when he left here last time, he shouldn't have appeared in this explored area. When he passed by this area, he flew in the southeast direction. There are Broken Sky Mountain and Demon Mountain in the southeast. There are many void whirlpools near Broken Sky Mountain, which is not suitable for a formation. In addition, there are many void purple light snakes. His destination may be Demon Mountain. Knight Sorrow thought for a while and came to his own opinion and conclusion. Yes, just now the 3 of us analyzed and felt that this possibility was relatively high. After all, there are dragon-headed and snake-headed people in his team who know Demon Mountain well. King Yawu said, the dragon-headed and snake-headed people are very strong. Even if our sergeants of the First Army set up a formation, they can't compete with them. They are Emperor Tribulation Masters. They should have lived in Demon Mountain for a long time. Mo Yutian chose Demon Mountain because he is in the process of cleaning it up. However, Demon Mountain is very large. It is difficult to find them without knowing their specific location. Night Sorrow said the possibility and difficulties. It is indeed a problem. Then we will camp in Demon Mountain and station in the core area, King Yawu said. We can set up a stronghold in Demon Mountain and set up a transmission formation. Some cultivators can come to this area to train and find traces of the Demon Wing clan. In order to avoid being killed after being found, the news can't be transmitted. Only cultivators with doppelgangers are allowed to go. No matter what happens, even if they die, the news can be transmitted back. Night Sorrow said his suggestion. King Yawu, Grand Elder, and Elder Spirit Tree agreed with Night Sorrow's suggestion. Then the team gathered and set off for Demon Mountain. Under the control of the Void Purple Light Snake King, the group of Void Purple Light Snakes did not cause trouble. The team moved forward at full speed. It did not take long for them to reach Demon Mountain. King Yawu looked around and found a suitable area. It was a large platform in the middle of the main peak of Demon Mountain. The mountain platform was very large. It had a radius of hundreds of miles. Night Sorrow. It should not be a problem to set up a defensive and space-stabilizing formation within a radius of 600 miles. What do you think of the core area of the formation as a stronghold? King Yawu asked Night Sorrow. Very good. The distance from here to Tianwang City is not far. A monarch-level transmission formation will do. The main thing is to set up a defensive formation and space-stabilizing formation, Night Sorrow said. Uncle, are you going to set up a formation or do you? King Yawu looked around the platform again and asked. Okay. I will do it. Uncle, you don't have to trouble yourself. However, you have to pay attention to the formation and remind me if there are any mistakes, Night Sorrow said and accepted the task. Hearing that Night Sorrow accepted the task, the Grand Elder threw a storage ring to Night Sorrow. Grand Elder, you don't have to. Night Sorrow brought the Holy Spirit Stone. Night Sorrow said, I know you have a lot of money, but this is a matter of the 100 races of the Celestial Realm. I can't let you pay the Holy Spirit Stone. The 100 races of the Celestial Realm have a lot of money, the Grand Elder said with a smile. Take it. Although you have the ability, you are still a junior in the 100 races. Everyone will only support you. How can we drag you down? King Yawu nodded at Night Sorrow. Then, Night Sorrow's team began to tidy up the platform. Night Sorrow asked them to set up the formation. Night Sorrow also began to set up the formation. What Yishang didn't know was that Mo Yutian was also in charge of repairing the terrain and fixing the foundation of the formation. He was beginning to set up the grand formation. King Yawu, Mo Yutian, and the Grand Elder's soul power were very strong. However, it was not strong enough to see through the mountain. Neither side knew what the other was doing. They were all studying the formation. Chapter 2013. After listening to King Yawu and the Grand Elder's guidance, Night Sorrow's array Dao cultivation had also improved. How could a defensive array have such a strong defensive power? Naturally, there were offensive formations that contained domineering power. In addition, it also had the effect of controlling and stabilizing space-time. It could be said that it was a comprehensive test of one's cultivation in the art of formations. Night Sorrow improved his understanding of the Tao of array formations in the process of setting up the formation. Setting up a stronghold on Samsara Island and setting up an all-around formation would consume a lot of resources and manpower. Yishang used 4 months to finish setting up the defensive Grand Array. Uncle Master, I think it's ready. Can you start it? After setting up the last array base, Night Sorrow came to King Yawu's side. It's very fast, and the array formation is very mature. Then I'll activate it. King Yawu said as he took out a spirit stone to activate the defensive array formation. With the activation of the array, the energy near the platform halfway up Fiend Mountain began to vibrate. Following that, the energy within the array stabilized, turning into a stable space. Very good. Once the teleportation array is set up, we can start the teleportation. King Yawu said, in 4 months, We have set up a great defensive array and completed the construction of the outpost. I wonder where Mo and his men have been hiding during these 4 months. The nothingness purple light snake and the stone tree were unable to find any traces of them. Night Sorrow was still feeling somewhat worried. Translator, Namiyami editor, Namiyami upper E. Plus, as they were talking, the great magic array, which had been operating smoothly, fell into a state of chaos. An energy storm even appeared within the magic array's area, seemingly on the verge of exploding. King Wu waved his arm and took out a Saint Spirit stone from the base of the formation to stop the operation of the formation. Uncle Master, is there a problem with the array I set up? That shouldn't be the case. I've checked it multiple times. Night Sorrow asked in surprise. Indeed, it shouldn't be like this. When you were setting it up, I looked at it carefully. There was no conflict. Besides, if it didn't make sense, it wouldn't be activated. There's no reason for it to be unstable after activation. Let's try activating it again. King Wu didn't understand. Then, King Wu activated the formation again, and the defensive formation began to operate. At this moment, inside the cave, Mo was also puzzled. Just now, he had activated the array, but the effect was not good. The energy storm swept over and almost destroyed everything in the cave. Fortunately, he had stopped the array in time. He checked the array again, and after confirming that there were no problems, he activated the array again. When Mo activated the array formation, the energy storm appeared once again. The array formation shook and its foundation became unstable. Mo had no choice but to stop the operation of the array formation and begin his inspection. What Mo did not know was that when he activated the formation, Kingyo, the Grand Elder, and Night Sorrow, who were on the platform halfway up the Demon Mountain, were shocked and stopped the defense formation. What's going on? Night Sorrow was confused. This isn't a problem with the array formation itself. It's an external interference. It should be that the Demon Mountain region will have some energy impact every once in a while. This array formation must be watched by someone. If it doesn't work, it will be stopped. However, we don't dare to use the teleportation array formation even if it's set up. If the energy goes berserk halfway through the teleportation, it will be troublesome, King Wu said. As a cultivator who had been cultivating for countless months, King Wu was naturally able to analyze that it wasn't a problem with the array formation itself. It still needs someone to watch over it. This is really troublesome. Night Sorrow muttered. Under such circumstances, he couldn't leave. Even if he had news of the Demon Wing clan, he couldn't go. Night Sorrow, don't worry. I'm fine. I'll watch over this array formation. If the energy goes berserk, I can stop the operation of the array formation and restart it after a while. Elder Spiritual Tree could see Night Sorrow's dilemma. Then I'll have to trouble you, Elder Spiritual Tree. Night Sorrow cupped his hands at Elder Spiritual Tree. After Mo paused the array formation, he began to think about the arrangement of his own array formation. After checking it, Mo shook his head. He felt that it was wrong to doubt himself. How could he have set up an unreasonable array formation? Mo felt that the energy was unstable and that it was the Void Vortex's fault. It wasn't a problem with the array formation itself. Mo studied the array formation. He would start it every once in a while. This was a torture for Elder Spiritual Tree. Every time he started the array formation, Elder Spiritual Tree would have to stop the array formation and start again. First opportunity. Because Night Sorrow and the others had started the array formation first, Mo array formation couldn't be started. No one had thought that the two arrays would clash. They just thought that the natural conditions of Samsara Island weren't suitable for setting up an array formation. Mo didn't think of changing locations. If he couldn't set up an array in the cave, there was no point in changing locations. King Wu and the others also didn't think of changing locations because there wasn't a more suitable place. Things were in a deadlock. Mo would start the array every once in a while. He wanted to test if the energy was stable and if the array could operate stably. He could wait 100 years or even 1,000 years. As long as Samsara Island's energy was stable and the array of this stronghold could operate, then Samsara Island's strategic deployment would be successful. Celestial Realm's troops never stopped searching the Devil-Winged Race's troops on Samsara Island, because this was very important to the safety of the Celestial Realm. After a year, Shirshu and the Void Purple Light Snake had finished setting up camp on Samsara Island under Night Sorrow and Elder Spiritual Trees arrangements. This meant that they didn't need to search. As long as the Devil-Winged Race appeared, they would be discovered. In a year's time in the real world and 4 months of setting up the array, Night Sorrow's main body had cultivated in the center of the Void Vortex for close to 50 years. He had achieved quite a bit. After the Destruction attribute, his Time and Space attribute had entered the peak Emperor rank. His Void attribute was close to the 8-star Emperor rank, and was just 1 step away from the peak Emperor rank. However, it was stuck at a bottleneck. Night Sorrow was currently researching the Limitless attribute and using other attributes to push his Void attribute up. As for the Destruction attribute that had entered the peak Emperor rank, after 40 years of accelerated cultivation, he had made some progress. His comprehension was close to 91%. This speed was extremely slow according to Night Sorrow's past cultivation speed. However, Night Sorrow knew that this was normal. Peak Emperor rank was able to comprehend 10% of the power of heaven and earth to increase 1 rank. However, after reaching peak Emperor rank, every 10% comprehension was a calamity. In this year's time, Devil Mountain's defensive array had vibrated 7 or 8 times. At first, the frequency was high, but later on, the frequency decreased. Every once in a while, Mo Yutian would activate the defensive array he had set up. Chapter 2014. Mo Tianji had to make a choice now. She had cultivated to the peak stage of the Heaven Monarch realm. She could hide her current cultivation level, but if she wanted to increase her cultivation level, she would have to go through the tribulation. She knew very well that going through the tribulation would cause a change in heaven and earth energy. The change in heaven and earth energy couldn't be hidden from Night Sorrow, who was the Realm Lord. If she didn't go through the wind and fire tribulations, she would only be below the Emperor. After thinking about it, Mo Tianji couldn't think of a way to avoid Night Sorrow's detection and go through the tribulation secretly. A Realm Lord who had fused with the world's origin was too powerful in his own world. His abilities were unimaginable. Mo Tianji didn't want any more problems because she couldn't take the damage to her soul spirit. Also, she didn't want to give up her current body because it was very compatible with her. It was more suitable for her cultivation than the woman with the pure Een body found in the Demon Wing race. After thinking for a while, Mo Tianji came up with 2 plans. However, they both required her to leave the 9 regions world to go through the tribulation. The first plan was to use the spatial treasure and think of a way to force someone to bring her out of the 9 regions world without her knowing. However, she had to give up on fighting Night Sorrow in the 9 regions world. She had to give up her current plan of taking back her original body. The second plan was to create some spatial disturbances. For example, she could trigger an energy riot in the Realm Sea near other spatial worlds or volcanic eruptions. She could use the energy riot to rush out of the spatial crack and go to other spatial small worlds to go through the tribulation. Both plans had their disadvantages. The first plan was that when she used the teleportation array, she would be easily discovered by Night Sorrow. The result would be that she would be chased endlessly and would be forced to give up her current body. If she used her current body to fight, she wouldn't be a match for Night Sorrow. The difference was too great. She couldn't even escape, even if she wanted to. If she was discovered, she could only escape with her soul spirit. The second plan was based on the carelessness of the world's origin. They did not discover that the eruption was man-made, but the possibility was not high. This was because the world's origin was very sensitive to the energy changes in its own world. The energy storms and volcanic eruptions in the world were almost all under the control of the world's origin. A sudden abnormal situation would definitely be noticed. After thinking about it, Tianji decided to go with the first option and leave completely. She was tired. She lost every time she fought with Night Sorrow. She was scared and didn't want to have anything to do with Night Sorrow anymore. She knew that she wasn't as lucky as Night Sorrow. Even if she fought with him, she would still lose. As for the original body, she didn't plan to fight for it anymore. At least, she wouldn't do it before she recovered her peak strength. Tianji smiled wryly after making this decision. It had been 8 epochs. She never thought that she would admit defeat to someone in her heart, but she had to do so now. With a choice, Tianji started to make a plan to leave the 9-domain world. The plan had to be meticulous because it was related to her future and whether she could survive or not. In the end, Tianji decided to use the advantage of her powerful soul power to kill an ordinary human or a common demon cultivator in the 9-domain world. Then, she would leave with the spatial magic treasure. After staying in the 9-domain city for a while, Tianji, who had a good understanding of the 9-domain world, decided to control a netherworld race expert. A netherworld race expert with a suitable cultivation and a suitable reason to leave. This way, they could justifiably leave the 9-domain world. Tianji chose a candidate, a nether king from the nether realm. Back then, the strongest expert in the netherworld realm was the 9 underworld king, Zhu Jiyun. She had many underworld kings under her command. However, because of the battle with the 9-domain world, the 7 evils king, 8 desolation king, and the others all died in battle. Zhu Jiyun was the only underworld king left. However, more underworld kings were born later on. Tianji chose an underworld king who was closest to her. She planned to destroy the underworld king's clone first, then wipe out the soul of the underworld king's original body and control his body to leave. Because the plan was meticulous and careful, Tianji's plan succeeded. The underworld king called Tan was killed by Tianji's clone in the City Lord's manor. After his original body was controlled, he took Tianji's spatial magic treasure and left through the teleportation formation. Because Tan was an underworld king from the netherworld realm, Lin Piaomiao's clone guarding the teleportation formation did not stop him. Night Sorrow did not know about this. It was mainly because Tianji's plan was very logical. Tianji reached the 9-domain city and arrived at the teleportation formation. The person guarding it was the expert from the profound mysteries realm, Xian Wenxiu. Xian Wenxiu knew about the situation of the netherworld race. When he learned that Tan, who was already a high-level saint king, wanted to go to the celestial realm to increase his knowledge, he agreed. He also hoped that the local cultivators of the 9-domain world could become stronger and keep up with the development of the 9-domain world. Cultivators from the outside world were gradually coming to the 9-domain world. If the local cultivators did not work hard, they would be left behind. After Tianji reached the Star Moon City, she did not dare to stay. She left through the teleportation formation. Right now, she wanted to stay away from everything related to Night Sorrow. She did not want to go to the Star Moon City. Plus, with her current strength, it was very difficult for her to do anything there. The information of the 9-domain world was very developed. On the 3rd day after Tianji left, someone discovered something. Someone asked to see Tan and found the corpse of Tan's clone. In order to minimize the energy ripples, Tianji destroyed the soul of Tan's clone. She did not purposely destroy the body of Tan's clone. When the person saw Tan's corpse, he naturally reported it. It was a big matter that the Underworld King had been killed. Initial number 7, when Taishu Yan, who was in charge of the 9 Domains World's Commander-in-Chief's office, received the news, she immediately contacted Night Sorrow's 9 Domains doppelganger. Night Sorrow's 9 Realms doppelganger arrived in the Nether Realm and ordered the teleportation formation to be shut down. Then, he and Lin Piaomiao's doppelganger, who was guarding the teleportation formation, went to Stan's residence to investigate. Noticing the appearance of Tan's doppelganger, Lin Piaomiao's expression changed. She told Night Sorrow that this Nether King had left the Nether Realm via the teleportation array 3 days ago and went to the 9-region city. Night Sorrow and Lin Piao naturally understood what this meant. The two of them didn't continue investigating the king of Hell Mansion. Instead, they went straight to 9-region city to ask Xian Wenxiu, who was guarding the teleportation array. Xian Wenxiu didn't know what was going on. Seeing that Night Sorrow was asking about Stan, he explained, "Misty, I can't leave. Why don't you go to Star Moon City and take a look?" Night Sorrow said to Lin Misty. Lin Piao went to Star Moon City to investigate and found out that Stan had left. Then, she returned to the 9-regions world and told Night Sorrow about the situation. Tianji ran away. There's nothing we can do about it, unless we directly seal the Nether Realm and shut down the teleportation formation. I thought about it before, but that would delay the development of the 9-regions world. Night Sorrow sighed. This is my negligence. I didn't think about this. I didn't think that Tianji would control the bodies of other cultivators and leave, Lin Piao said. So what if she ran away? If she doesn't leave the 9-regions world, she can only be below the Emperor level. She was afraid, so she left without a care. In fact, I'm not afraid either. Her being in the 9-regions world is like a knife hanging over my heart. Night Sorrow laughed bitterly. But she ran away. It will be difficult to catch her again, Lin Piao said. No, we have Zhu Jiyun's essence blood. Night Sorrow shook his head. Chapter 2015. After Zhu Jiyun's clone was possessed, the Grand Elder used a secret technique to sever the connection between Zhu Jiyun's main body and his clone. This was to prevent Tianji from harming Zhu Jiyun's main body. However, before he severed the connection, he left behind Zhu Jiyun's essence blood. The essence blood and the clone could form a connection. Night Sorrow planned to use the essence blood left behind by Zhu Jiyun to deal with Tianji. However, he had to wait. Tianji's cultivation was below the Emperor realm. She couldn't leave the Celestial realm. His main body and battle clone were busy at Reincarnation Island. There were priorities. Reincarnation Island's matter was the most important. He couldn't let the demon-winged race gain a foothold there. Once the demon-winged race used Reincarnation Island as a springboard to invade the Celestial realm, Sky Desolate City's existence would be meaningless. The enemy would invade the core of the city. I wasn't attentive enough. Lin Piao looked at Night Sorrow apologetically. Sister Xian, you think too much. Some things can't be avoided. Actually, I feel more at ease now that Tianji has escaped. There are no hidden dangers within our city. My family is the most important to me. The 9-domain world is where my roots are. Night Sorrow hugged Lin Piao and said. Lin Piao nodded. She felt a little guilty. She could understand Night Sorrow's mentality. After leaving the Star Moon Lake region, Tianji felt more at ease. The Celestial Realm was much safer than the 9-domain world. This was because there was no powerful Realm Lord. After she was safe, Tianji felt a little worried. She was safer, but she gave up a lot of opportunities. She gave up the chance to possess the main body. She even gave up the chance to control the 9-domain world. %B star %JIT was a great opportunity. However, there were some risks that Tianji wasn't willing to take. Staying alive was the most important thing. Besides, she felt that her current body wasn't bad. She would recover her strength quickly. Only with strength would she have the confidence to fight Night Sorrow again. After reaching the Heaven World's deep desolation, Tianji released her cultivation and triggered the trials of wind and fire. She had to reach the Monarch realm first. After Tianji escaped, Night Sorrow's battle clone told King Yuwu and the Grand Elder about it. He also apologized. After all, he had left a hidden danger in the Celestial realm. After hearing the whole story, King Yuwu shook his head and said, Tianji has planned this. You can't defend against her. Besides, she knows that her real body is in the 9-domain world, but she doesn't dare to stay in the 9-domain world. This means that she is afraid. If a cultivator is afraid, it means that her Tao heart is already unstable. Her fate is just SOSO, so she won't be a big threat. Night Sorrow, don't blame yourself. The nine-domain world is the future supreme world. It's very important to the human race and the celestial realm's 100 races. There can't be any unstable factors. It's a good thing that she left. At least we know that the rear is stable. The Grand Elder also spoke. He knew Night Sorrow's personality and knew that he had to talk to him. Plus, this kind of thing should be the responsibility of the older generation. Night Sorrow shouldn't have to shoulder it. Night Sorrow nodded. He understood that King Yawu and the Grand Elder didn't want him to be under too much pressure. Uncle, Grand Elder, don't worry. I have the essence blood of Zhu Jiyun before she cut off the connection between her original body and her avatar. After the crisis on Samsara Island is resolved, I'll go to the celestial realm to catch her. If she can't kill me, I'll kill her, Night Sorrow said. I don't know if you can kill her, but I'm sure she can't kill you. The three grand heavens of the Demon Wing clan haven't shown up for a long time. You're so young, but you've already crossed paths with two of them. You're still alive. It's rare. The Grand Elder patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. In the past, the appearance of each of the three grand heavens of the Demon Wing clan represented a reign of terror. They were all a blow to the celestial realm. However, in this era, Mo Tianji and Mo Yutian appeared one after another, but they didn't do anything. It could even be said that they were in a passive state when facing Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, Uncle and the Grand Elder have talked. The biggest danger on Samsara Island is the Void Purple Light Snakes. Can you communicate with the Void Purple Light Snake Kings and ask them not to harm the practitioners of the 100 races of the celestial realm? This way, we can send 2 unified armies into Samsara Island and carry out a comprehensive defense, King Yawu said. Hearing King Yawu's words, Night Sorrow waved his hand and asked Little Z, who was with Sikong Chiyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi, to come over. After receiving Little Z's affirmative answer, Night Sorrow nodded to King Yawu. You are a being of the celestial realm. It is natural for you to work hard for the stability of the celestial realm. However, I am very grateful for your understanding. King Yawu looked at Little Z and said. Little Z shook its body and shook its head. It naturally knew that King Yawu was a big shot. It was very happy to receive his affirmation. Then, the Grand Elder went to make arrangements for the Celestial Wasteland Army. They didn't dare to use the teleportation formation, so he had to bring the people back and forth. Uncle Master, I plan to comprehend the swordsmanship that Master left behind. Yishang told King Yawu his thoughts. No, you can only comprehend it after you pass the Heavenly Emperor's tribulation. King Yawu rejected Night Sorrow's suggestion and gave a condition. Night Sorrow didn't understand. He felt that there was nothing for his clone to cultivate. He felt that cultivating Yin Wushuang's sword Dao could increase his strength. Your Dao is different from your master's. You have your own Dao, the Dao of moral cultivation and the Dao of taboo samsara. Before the Heavenly Emperor's tribulation comes, your Dao is not stable enough. It is not suitable for you to come into contact with your master's taboo sword Dao. It will have a great impact on your Dao and won't do you any good. King Yawu explained the reason. He taught Night Sorrow the same way he taught his disciple, so he didn't hide anything. Thank you for your advice, Uncle. I understand. Night Sorrow bowed to King Yawu. You don't have to be so polite with me. You are the human emperor of the human race, but you're also the successor of the divine capital. Therefore, I look forward to your growth, King Yawu said with a smile. Night Sorrow understood that supporting the human emperor of a human race was based on the overall situation. King Yawu also had personal feelings. Then, King Yawu asked about Night Sorrow's cultivation. Night Sorrow told King Yawu about the cultivation of his various attributes. It is difficult to advance them simultaneously, but they are balanced. You made the right choice. Don't be in a hurry to advance the destruction and space-time attributes. First, improve the nothingness and Wuji attributes. If your achievements in each attribute are high, your taboo attribute will be strong and you will have no shortcomings, King Yawu said. Chapter 2016. Taboo attributes were a combination of attributes. For example, the reincarnation attribute was a combination of destruction, space, time, life, and death attributes. It could also be said that it was a combination of destruction, space-time, and infinity attributes. The achievement of these attributes determined the achievement and power of the reincarnation taboo attribute. For example, if several attributes were below 30% of the power of heaven and earth, then the combination would be a beginner taboo attribute. If several attributes were at 40% to 60% of the power of heaven and earth, then the combination would be an intermediate taboo attribute. If several attributes were at 70% to 90% of the power of heaven and earth, then the combination would be an advanced taboo attribute. If several attributes were cultivated to the Emperor Tribulation level, then the combination would be a top-level taboo attribute. Of course, if several attributes were cultivated to the Emperor Tribulation level, then the combination would be a perfect taboo attribute. It's so complicated. Uncle, I'm more compatible with the nothingness and space-time attributes. The destruction attribute is average, and I'm not good at the infinity attribute. It's probably more difficult to cultivate all of them. Night Sorrow said, You're already an intermediate taboo attribute. Are you afraid that you won't be able to achieve it in the future? Take it slow. This reincarnation hasn't entered the 9th era yet. I'll give you an era. I believe that you won't have a problem cultivating a top-level taboo attribute, let alone an advanced one. King Yawu was very confident in Night Sorrow because Night Sorrow was very young and had accumulated a very strong foundation. I'll work hard. Night Sorrow nodded. The key to understanding and cultivating attributes is the foundation and starting point. It's too difficult to have the supreme attribute. In the entire celestial realm, there's only one person who has the supreme attribute as a foundation. There are others who have cultivated it to perfection, but they all spent countless years to deduce. The supreme attribute is only a foundation. It's also extremely difficult to have the 4 advanced attributes. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called a taboo attribute, King Yawu said. Since I have the unique conditions, what I need to do is to make full use of them, Night Sorrow said. After chatting with King Yawu for a while, Yishang felt a lot more cheerful. The road ahead would be very difficult, but it was not like he could not see the light. Everything had entered a rapid development, and he had a good foundation. The Grand Elder left to make arrangements for the Heaven Wasteland Army to enter the Samsara Island. As for whether Mo Tian and the others had successfully established a stronghold, Night Sorrow was not worried because there was no such possibility at the moment. Samsara Island could be said to be under the surveillance of the people of the Celestial Realm. It would be difficult for the Demon Wing clan to do anything. A few days later, the Grand Elder led the 2 Heaven Wasteland armies to Samsara Island and began their training and exploration. Seeing that the Heaven Wasteland army had arrived, Night Sorrow decided to leave. He wanted to go back and capture Mo Tianji. Look at X right edition. Chapter S section H above. Why, however, the Grand Elder and King Yawu did not agree because they felt that Night Sorrow's cultivation was a big deal. Also, they felt that Mo Tianji would not be able to do much. The mayor's clone arrived at the Samsara Island too. While the 3 leaders were chatting, they also called Night Sorrow over. The members of the First Army and the God-Slaying team are in good condition. They have a bright future. After you appeared, you brought vitality to the Heaven Wasteland city, the Tranhung said as he glanced at the stronghold's camping area. This is because I came back alive. If I had fallen on Heaven Wasteland, how could I have survived? Night Sorrow muttered. My great prophecy technique is not fake. If I say you won't die, you won't die. Besides, that kind of high-pressure cultivation is only good for you, the Tranhung said with a smile. Yes, look at how energetic you are now. You're all so positive. It's good to be young, the Grand Elder said with a smile. They're very happy. With such a group of positive people in the celestial realm, the future is full of hope, the mayor said. Night Sorrow, my generation is very tired. They're not afraid of dying in battle, but they're afraid that they can't bear it. I'm afraid that in our generation, in the era we live in, the heaven realm will fall. I'm also afraid that there won't be any talents left in the heaven realm. If that's the case, we'll have to endure to the end until we're reduced to ashes. We'll be unwilling to leave, King Yawu said. There's still a lot of time. Isn't there another epoch? I only have one epoch. When the time comes, I'll have to go through the baptism of the highest tribulation like you, the mayor, and the grand elder. If we can pass it, we'll pass it together. If we fail, there's nothing to say. Night Sorrow said. He had the forbidden attribute. After an epoch, the god-slaying tribulation would come. According to his lifespan, the mayor, King Yawu, and the grand elder would also have to go through the god-slaying tribulation. That's right. You're also under a lot of pressure. So, don't worry too much about Immortality, who hasn't even become an emperor yet. Besides, it's not easy to find her. She has treasures that can avoid divination. Plus, she has spatial treasures that can hide her whereabouts. It's not easy to find her if she really wants to hide. Mayor, Immortality has been through so much. Is she really done for? The Grand Elder looked at the mayor after saying a few words. The continuous attacks have caused great damage to Immortality. It can be said that her soul is irrecoverable. Even though she's a cultivator who has passed the god-slaying tribulation of the 7 emperors, her strength is no longer the same as her cultivation level. As for her immortal potential, she's already gone. It's unknown whether she can pass the next emperor-slaying tribulation. The mayor nodded. Then, the mayor told Night Sorrow some of the decisions they had discussed with the elders. They were about to enter the last epoch of this reincarnation cycle. In the last epoch, the celestial realm didn't plan to be conservative anymore. They wanted to invade Tianhuang and have a real fight with the Demon Wing clan, which was the final battle. The celestial realm has the 100 Races Alliance. The Demon Wing clan has the 100 Kings tribe. They're all branches of the Demon Wing clan. Night Sorrow, you may not understand. In the Demon Wing clan, only a tribe with a king can be called a king tribe. King is a title that only the Demon Wing clan above the god-slaying tribulation of the 5 emperors can have. The final battle will be between the celestial realm and the Demon Wing clan in the deserted world in Tianhuang, King Yawu said. I understand. There are many divine beast races in the celestial realm. Plus, the 100 races are united, so we'll face the battle calmly. Night Sorrow didn't feel any pressure. After returning to his tent, Night Sorrow made a pot of tea and thought about something. He understood why the mayor didn't let him go back. Even with Zhu Jiyun's essence and blood, he might not be able to catch Immortality. Immortality had a treasure that could prevent her from being divined. What he needed now was to improve his strength. While Night Sorrow was thinking, Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi entered Night Sorrow's tent. They all looked excited. Chapter 2017. Yujun has already returned to the city in the sky. He told us that he is going to undergo his tribulation. His comprehension of the will of heaven and earth has already reached perfection. He should have done it in Star Moon City, but he felt that it would be safer to do it in the city in the sky, Sikong Chiyu said. That's great. I taught them how to cultivate the leakless true body. It won't be difficult for them to pass the trials of wind and fire. We just have to wait and celebrate for him. Night Sorrow's hand that was holding the teapot trembled. He was the happiest when his children achieved something. I didn't expect Yujun to be the fastest. I thought Yi Xiaolei would be the first to reach the imperial realm after Xiaoluo, but she was stuck at a bottleneck, Dechira said. Among Night Sorrow's 5 children, Yi Xiaoluo was the most talented, followed by Yi Lingxi, Yi Xiaolei, Yi Yujun, and Yi Qingyan. Yi Lingxi was still young, so she hadn't cultivated for as long as her brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter who enters the imperial realm first. They all have the potential. Their children and grandchildren have their own paths, Night Sorrow said with a smile. This was good news for Night Sorrow. The 9-domain avatar that was guarding the 9-domain world in the Sky Ceiling Palace had returned to the city in the sky. He drank a jar of wine with his son and sent him to the lake to undergo the trials of wind and fire. He waited at the side. Yi Yujun bowed to his father and went to undergo the tribulation. Night Sorrow waited at the side with the Yi family. Although he knew that there wouldn't be any danger after cultivating the leakless true body, Night Sorrow didn't want to leave. He wanted to tell his son that no matter what happened, his father would always be by his side. "Father, have a cup of tea. Second brother will be fine." Yi Shaluo brewed a pot of tea and went to Night Sorrow's side. "When you were undergoing the trials of wind and fire, I wasn't by your side. You had to bear it all by yourself." Night Sorrow turned around and patted Yi Shaluo's shoulder. All these years, he had always felt guilty toward his family. A father's love is like a mountain. Even if you weren't by our side, we could still feel your care and love and care. "I feel lucky to be your son," Yi Shaluo said. Yi Shang went to the wooden boat by the lake and sat down. He poured tea for his father and mother, who had rushed over. "Father, we're proud to be your children," Yi Qingyan said. Night's children." "Oh, Yi, that's what you think. Actually, in Father's heart, your happy life is the most important. Hurry up and get married. Whether Father becomes a grandfather or a grandfather first, it's all good," Yishan said with a smile. "Father, we're going to be a grandfather soon." After Yujun becomes an emperor, he'll probably bring up the topic of marriage immediately. "Zine, is that right?" asked Yi Qingyan, looking at Qin Zine, who had also been waiting. Qin Zine nodded. She understood Yi Yujun. In Yi Yujun's heart, his father and mother were his role models. He had always hoped that he could achieve something and give the people he loved a stable life. Becoming a sovereign was Yi Yujun's wish for himself. "Okay, after Yujun becomes a great emperor, I'll arrange it." Night Sorrow smiled and nodded. Yi Yujun's trials of wind and fire didn't bring him any danger. After the trials, the people in the Sky City naturally celebrated. During the celebration, Night Sorrow talked to Yi Yujun about marriage. "Father, I don't plan to make it a big deal. It's meaningless. I've discussed it with Zine. We'll just have the parents of the two families sit together and host a family banquet. It'll be simple," Yi Yujun said. "PH, original version _ premiere, yes." "Father, you don't have to worry about us," Qin Zine said. She knew that Night Sorrow had been busy with cultivation and the matters in the celestial realm. "Chuyu, what do you think?" Night Sorrow looked at Sikong Chuyu. Sikong Chuyu nodded. She respected her child's opinion. The Yi family didn't like to be ostentatious. Night Sorrow didn't have to worry about the rest of the matters. Someone went to prepare some etiquette. Right after Yi Yujun's wedding, a war broke out in Tianwang City. It was the biggest war in half an era. Mo Yutian and Mo Zhantian of the Demon Wing clan led their troops to attack Tianwang City. The two sides engaged in a fierce battle on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. The outcome of the battle was tragic. Mo Yutian and Mo Zhantian were defeated by the City Lord and King Yawu. The Hundred Races Alliance and the army of the Demon Wing clan both suffered heavy casualties. When Night Sorrow heard the news on Samsara Island, the battle had already ended. 3 out of the 30 armies of Tianhuang City had lost their men. Some of the elders of the Hundred Races Alliance had also fallen. The Nirvana Ocean Bridge was also filled with the corpses of the Demon Wing clan. The City Lord and the others didn't understand why the Demon Wing clan suddenly went crazy and attacked Tianwang City. King Yawu called Night Sorrow into the tent and discussed the battle situation with Night Sorrow. Yishan got some news from King Yawu's doppelganger. Mo Zhantian of the Demon Wing clan had suddenly risen. He was very strong and had surpassed Mo Yutian. He was on par with the City Lord of Heavenly Desolation. Mo Zhantian has been keeping a low profile. He has merged his original body with his doppelganger. This is to prepare for the God-destroying tribulation. Currently, only the City Lord of Tianhuang City has done this in the celestial realm. Uncle always thought that there was no need to rush, but it seems that he has to take this step ahead of time. Uncle will not be here in the future. The doppelganger of the Grand Elder will replace him, King Yawu said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that the situation was very tense. King Yawu and the others had to make some decisions. King Yawu left. Knight Sorrow felt a little heavy. After merging his soul, he would only live for one era if he didn't pass the God-destroying tribulation. What are you thinking about? Thinking about this war? Don't worry. You don't have to worry about the current situation. The Grand Elder came to the edge of the stronghold and accompanied Knight Sorrow to look at the broken sky mountain. The war has brought a lot of damage to the celestial realm, Knight Sorrow said. Yes. In order to win the war, the City Lord of Tianwang City and the City Lord of Yawu made the choice to merge their souls. They gave up the path of reincarnation. They planned to resist the God-destroying tribulation and leave the chance of reincarnation to me. This was a choice they had no choice but to make, the Grand Elder said in a low voice. Yishang's heart shook as he turned to look at the Grand Elder. When the original body and doppelganger merge, the soul will merge with the original body. Once the soul and the spirit become one, there will be no chance of reincarnation. I hope they succeed, but the chances are slim. In all the records, there is no mention of passing the God-destroying tribulation. As far as we know, the one who came closest to completing the God-destroying tribulation was an ancestor of the Demon Wing clan, but he didn't pass it completely. Why was the Demon Wing clan able to gain a foothold in the celestial realm? It was because the Demon Imperial City was the divine sea world of the ancestor of the Demon Wing clan. We couldn't break in at all. The Run Huang of the last reincarnation was amazing. He fought his way into the Demon Wing City several times, but he was beaten back. There was nothing we could do, the Grand Elder said in a low voice. Chapter 2018. The Celestial Realm has gone through 1,000 reincarnations, and each reincarnation is as tragic as this. Too many ancestors of the human race and the 100 races fought for the stability of the Celestial Realm and died in the long river of history. There are some records of this. Let me tell you. The Grand Elder's voice was low. In the beginning of the Celestial Realm, the most powerful race was the Celestial Luo clan. They ruled the Celestial Realm for several reincarnations. In order to fight against the Demon Wing clan, the entire Celestial Luo clan died in battle. In the Second Era, the Constellation clan was extremely powerful. They led the 100 races of the Celestial Realm to fight against the Demon Wing clan for more than 10 reincarnations. They also died in battle until the last person was left. In the Third Era, the Inferno clan was the strongest in the Celestial Realm. They also led the Celestial Realm to fight against the Demon Wing clan for several reincarnations. The result was the same. However, they had descendants. The current Fire Spirit clan was a descendant of the Inferno clan. In the Fourth Era, the ruling race of the Celestial Realm was the Moon Spirit clan. The result was the same. In the Fifth Era, in the Sixth Era, the most prosperous era of the Celestial Realm was the Ninth Era. In history, it was called the Celestial Realm Era. At that time, the ruling race of the Celestial Realm was the Blood Moon Azura clan. They were close to the human race and were known as the strongest fighting race. At that time, the Celestial Realm was almost unified. However, they could not take down the demonic Imperial City. This was because the demonic Imperial City was the spirit seed of one of the ancestors of the Demon Wing clan. At that time, the 100 races of the Celestial Realm realized that cultivators who had not passed the God-destroying tribulation could not break the defense of the demonic Imperial City. They could not destroy the foundation of the Demon Wing clan in the Celestial Realm. Even if they could break in, their cultivation would be suppressed. They could not destroy the orthodoxy of the Demon Wing clan. The demonic Imperial City was connected to the deserted world. If the demonic Imperial City could not be destroyed, then the Demon Wing clan could continue to pose a threat to the Celestial Realm. For countless years, the sages of the 100 races of the Celestial Realm have been working hard for this goal. Countless talented sages have passed the God-destroying tribulation in order to destroy the demonic Imperial City. The spirit of resistance has been passed down from generation to generation. Once upon a time, the Celestial Realm Emperor Ji Dao, the Celestial King, the Fire Emperor Lai Yin, the Golden Dragon King Shi Tian, and the Azura Queen Yi Tianxin have all fought their way to the demonic imperial city. They fought until the end of their lives for the stability of the celestial realm. Our reincarnation is the last era of the celestial realm. My ancestors were from the Ji Dao family. My ancestor was the Ji Dao Heavenly Emperor, the human emperor of the human race. I am ashamed to face my ancestors, said the Grand Elder. We may only be a page in this long history book, but we want to be that glorious page. Even if we die in battle, we have to tell the future generations that we participated in the battle against the demon-winged clan. We have been to this world. We have to leave a mark that belongs to us, said Night Sorrow. Set the universe, control reincarnation, control the beginning, immortal walk the world. This is the prophecy left behind by our ancestor, the extreme path heavenly emperor. The cultivators of the celestial realm have been working hard for countless years. The Golden Dragon King Shi Tian and the Shura Empress Yi Tianxin both tried to break through the God-destroying tribulation. Yi Tianxin was the closest to success, but he failed in the end. The Yawa Mountain in the celestial realm is the head of the dragon veins in the celestial realm. It is where the body of the Golden Dragon King Shi Tian was after he fell. It has been guarding the fate of the celestial realm. After Yi Tianxin fell, he left behind the Wasteland Tower. The Wasteland Tower has been passed down from generation to generation. A few reincarnations ago, when the demon-winged clan attacked the Wasteland Tower once unleashed a sword attack that killed the strongest member of the demon-winged clan. According to the history books, it was a sword chi left behind by Yi Tianxin. Your master sword Dao is the Shura Empress Yi Tianxin's sword Dao, said the Grand Elder. Night Sorrow waved his arm. I didn't know that the Yi clan had someone so powerful. Although it has nothing to do with me, I am still a little excited. This is the last reincarnation of the celestial realm. However, the nine-domain world has also risen. The rise of the nine-domain world means that the 100 races of the celestial realm have a way out. Outside the Demon Mountain's cave, Mo Yuqian's face was gloomy because his plan had failed. The Demon Wing clan's attack on the Wasteland Tower was part of his plan. He wanted to divert the forces of the celestial realm from the Reincarnation Island so that he would have room to do something on the Reincarnation Island. Now that he sensed the aura of the Grand Elder on the Reincarnation Island, he still couldn't act recklessly. In addition, Mo Yutian also saw how powerful the forces of the celestial realm were. Mo Zhantian's strength was very strong, but he was still suppressed by the city lord of the Wasteland Tower. His original body was also at a disadvantage when fighting King Yao. In addition, the two Grand Elders of the Demon Ancestor Hall were also unable to win against the Grand Elder. As for the battle between ordinary cultivators, both sides were equally matched. Mo Yutian was clear of the situation. This time, only a portion of the Demon Wing clan's forces were sent out. Similarly, only a portion of the Celestial Realm's forces were sent out from the Celestial Realm. The divine beasts of the Celestial Realm also didn't participate. The situation was very uncertain. In addition, Mo Yutian was also clear that the reason why the formation in the Demon Mountain's cave couldn't be activated was because the forces of the Celestial Realm had already set up a formation halfway up the mountain. This was also the reason why Mo Yutian started the war. However, the forces of the Celestial Realm didn't withdraw. His plan couldn't be carried out. After thinking for a while, Mo Yutian decided to change the location of his development. He knew that he couldn't do anything if he stayed on the Demon Mountain. Mo Yutian had already dismantled the formation foundations in the Heaven Vault. Setting up a large-scale formation consumed a lot of spirit stones. He had to keep them. After keeping the Saint Spirit Stones used to set up the formation, Mo Yutian looked at Xiang Dragon and Sui Yuan. You two have done well this time. The base didn't succeed because of other reasons. Now think about it. Are there any other suitable places to set up a base? The Void Purple Light Snake has always been in the outer regions of the Broken Mountain. They didn't enter the inner regions of the mountain. We can try there, Xiang Dragon said. After thinking for a while, Mo Yutian nodded. He felt that this was one of the feasible methods. Not long after Moutian left, the dragon language came looking for Night Sorrow. She had sensed something strange. Is it far? Night Sorrow asked. It shouldn't be far. It should be a bloodline connection, the dragon language said. Gather the troops and set off. Night Sorrow said to Long Jean, who had also rushed over. He knew that the dragon language belonged to the Black Dragons. If there was a bloodline connection in the Devil Mountain, it wasn't a small matter. He had to go check it out. After Night Sorrow gathered the troops, the Grand Elder who noticed the commotion also came over. He didn't know what Night Sorrow wanted to do and was a little worried. He wanted to ask about it. Night Sorrow explained the situation to the Grand Elder. Leave half of the troops here to guard this place. This seat will follow you guys, and take a look, the Grand Elder said. Look at the Y2 version F, chapter asterisk. On the section Z hashtag, after the battle at the Night Moon Manor, the Black Dragons had been cleaned up. The Black Dragons were the Black Dragons of the Celestial Realm. Hence, the Grand Elder had to pay attention to the matters of the Black Dragons. Under the guidance of the dragon language, the group walked in circles for a while and arrived at the entrance of the Devil Mountain Cave. Brother, I feel like it's here. The dragon language pointed at the cave and said, It seems like the secret of the Devil Mountain also exists here. Everyone, be careful. Night Sorrow said and entered the cave. Chapter 2019. Night Sorrow entered the cave, followed by the Grand Elder, the First Army soldiers, and the members of the God-slaying team. There were some low-level spirit stones on the mountain walls inside the cave, emitting light, but it wasn't dark. As they moved forward, the situation inside the cave was also displayed in front of everyone's eyes. There were damaged array bases, all of which were new traces, and dragon language was moving towards one place. Night Sorrow and the others followed behind. If dragon language had a target, then her senses would be in front. As they moved forward, they reached the end of the cave. Standing in front of the mountain wall, dragon language thought for a moment, looked around, and punched the mountain wall. With the shock of dragon language's punch, the mountain wall collapsed, and then another small cave appeared. In the middle of the cave, there was a huge dragon egg, but it was damaged, missing the upper half. Long Yu walked over, and Night Sorrow followed. Everyone saw that there was a skeleton inside the eggshell. It was a skeleton without any blood essence, and had already dried up. It was the skeleton of a black dragon with scales stuck to the skeleton. There was no flesh or blood left. Brother, Grand Elder, this skeleton is my relative. Dragon Language's voice was a little choked. Night Sorrow reached out and patted Dragon Language's shoulder. He understood a little. The dragon egg and dragon language in front of him were the two sons of the strongest Black Dragon King in the previous reincarnation, a pair of sons that had not hatched for a long time. Of the two sons of the strongest Black Dragon King in the previous reincarnation, one of the dragon eggs was taken away by the Demon Wing clan, and the other was dragon language. Dragon-headed man, I swear in dragon language, either you die or I die. This hatred is absolutely irreconcilable. Dragon Language's hair fluttered, and his eyes were full of anger. Night Sorrow was also extremely angry. Although the details were not clear, the general situation was already clear. All of this was related to the Demon Wing clan and the dragon-headed man. This skeleton is called Moutian, a member of the Demon Wing clan in the previous reincarnation. All of this should be his reason. As for why he brought the Dragon King's son here, it's not clear. Perhaps it was because the space was unstable after the war, or some unknown means. He came here after the war. It was also because he took this dragon egg that the Black Dragons fell for all these years. Grand Elder pointed to a soulless but lifelike Demon Wing clan elder beside the dragon egg. Yishang and Long, you could understand that the last battle in the previous reincarnation cycle was very intense. The space was shattered and the space passageways appeared. Some of the Demon Wing clan were left in the Heaven Realm. Moutian, who controlled the Black Dragon clan and took away the dragon egg, should be a group of Demon Wing clan. Dragon language shook her fist, and destructive energy appeared, shattering Immerse's skeleton. Dragon language was a branch of the destruction attribute. This punch was not something that Immerse's skeleton, who had not cultivated Taoist rhymes, could withstand. After destroying Immerse's skeleton, Dragon language stepped forward and put away the broken dragon egg. I don't know if you're my elder brother, sister, or younger brother or sister. I'll take you back to the Black Dragons. Dragon language's voice was a little choked because that was her close relative. The reason why our stronghold formation is unstable is also known. Under the lead of the dragon-headed man and the snake-headed man, Immerse came here to arrange a large formation. Because the two defensive arrays are relatively close to each other and both have a component that stabilizes the void, a conflict has arisen. As long as he activates the array, our array will become unstable, and so will his. That's why he's preparing to migrate. That's why Draconic sensed it after he left, said Night Sorrow. This also means that in the past, he's been hiding here all this time and has not done anything. This is also the reason why the Demon Wing clan started a war against Tianwang City. He wants us to feel a sense of crisis and give up on this place to reinforce Tianwang City, the Grand Elder said. Night Sorrow nodded. As long as one was not stupid, some things could be figured out by thinking about it. Dragon language sensed this. Otherwise, we wouldn't have found this place. We also don't know what Immerse has done and what he wants to do. Long Jean said in a low voice. Dragon language's relatives were harmed, and he felt the same way, so he was also very angry. Little Purple, tell the Void Purple Light Snakes to expand their area of activity. If they are attacked, report to us, Night Sorrow said to Little Purple, the Void Purple Light Snake King, who was coiled on his arm. Little Purple's body trembled and gave a response. It also conveyed the message to the Void Purple Light Snakes. An unspecified currency, the Spiritual Tree Elder also passed the order to the Stone Tree Clan Patriarch who was beside him. Since Immerse had left Demon Mountain, he would find the next suitable base. Immerse will definitely be on guard against the Void Purple Light Snakes. Therefore, the Void Purple Light Snakes will only discover Immerse and the others when they are moving. In the past, when there were no bases, Immerse's soul power was strong enough to avoid the detection of the Void Purple Light Snakes. When there is a base that cannot be avoided, he will choose to kill them. Wherever the Void Purple Light Snakes are attacked, they will be there. Also, whether we can find them or not will depend on the Stone Tree Clan's arrangements, Night Sorrow said. The Grand Elder, the Spiritual Tree Elder, and the Stone Tree Clan Patriarch all nodded. Night Sorrow was analyzing the current situation. Then, everyone checked the cave. Night Sorrow picked up Immerse's storage ring and opened it. After opening Immerse's storage ring, Night Sorrow breathed a sigh of relief. He had been wondering why he did not find anything left behind from the battle between the Hunter Clan Alliance and the Demon Wing Clan. Now, he understood that everything was in Immerse's hands. There were so many weapons and Holy Spirit stones. Night Sorrow handed the storage ring to the Grand Elder. This should be left behind from the last reincarnation war. After looking at it, the Grand Elder was extremely shocked. This was because the number of weapons left behind was very large. It would be of great help to the Hunter Clan Alliance, because they were the weapons of the ancestors of the Hunter Clan Alliance. After exploring the cave thoroughly, Night Sorrow and the others returned to the base. Back at the base, Night Sorrow set up the transmission formation. The base of the formation in the cave had been destroyed by Immerse himself, so there would be no interference with the operation of the base's formation. It would be stable in the future, and there would be no problem using the transmission formation. After Night Sorrow set up the transmission formation, the original body of the Grand Elder came from the Infinite Desolation City. He brought the transmission crystal clone of the Infinite Desolation City's transmission formation and the transmission crystal, which directly connected the transmission formation. While Elder Ling Shu was guarding the defensive array, he was also guarding the teleportation array. In addition, the elder of the Infinite Desolation City's law enforcement clan, Qin Xinjia, also came. The establishment of a base on Reincarnation Island was a big deal. It had to be safe. The original body of the Grand Elder and his clone did not leave. They both stayed in the base because he was worried that a clone would not be able to restrain Mo-Yutian. Knight Soro's clone stayed in the base. Sometimes he would bring the team out for a walk. The original body had been cultivating in the time acceleration. His main research direction was the limitless attribute. His limitless attribute was at 50%, which was the lowest achievement among the attributes. Other than that, he wanted to advance the destruction, void, and space-time attributes by analogy. Knight Soro also hoped that his other attributes could reach 91% so that he could attempt the heavenly Tao Emperor's tribulation. Chapter 2020. Mo-Yutian's soul power was powerful. He avoided the void purple light snake's detection and went to the inner part of Broken Sky Mountain, where the human emperor and the demon ancestor fought. Although some traces were gone, Mo-Yutian could still feel the aura of the battle. He bowed towards the place where the demon ancestor fell. The demon ancestor was the strongest expert of the demon wing race in the previous reincarnation. He was a 9 Emperor Tribulation expert and the most likely to pass the God-destroying tribulation in this reincarnation. However, the human emperor passed the God-destroying tribulation early, and he had to stop him. Once the human emperor of the celestial realm passed the God-destroying tribulation, it would be a devastating disaster for the demon wing race. When a human emperor passed the tribulation and the demon ancestor came, the two didn't just fight, but also the God-destroying tribulation at the same time. Because of his interference, the demon ancestor's God-destroying tribulation came early. Originally, the demon ancestor had a higher chance of passing the God-destroying tribulation than the human emperor. However, when his soul was attacked by the tribulation, the human emperor suddenly gave up on his own tribulation and used the God-destroying tribulation to attack the demon ancestor. This caused the demon ancestor to suffer 2 God-destroying tribulations and the human emperor's attack, causing his soul to be destroyed. Similarly, the human emperor who gave up on his own tribulation also died. That battle was the pinnacle of the previous reincarnation. Ancestors above, our race is still working hard. If we can't take down the celestial realm, then we will take down the next supreme realm. Our generation might not be able to, but the young generation of the desolate world has already risen, Mo-Yutian muttered. He was the direct descendant of the demon ancestor and was born in the last era of the previous reincarnation. Because of his outstanding talent, he received guidance from the demon ancestor. After paying respects to the ancestors, Mo-Yutian moved everyone out of his spatial treasure. This was once an ultimate battlefield. The energy here isn't very stable. You guys look around and find a suitable place, Mo-Yutian ordered. Knight Soro often led the team to battle. When he had nothing to do, he would cultivate his spear arts in the stronghold. The Grand Elder wasn't stingy with his guidance to Knight Soro. Qin Xinjia also often communicated with Knight Soro. She admired Knight Soro more. Outside of cultivation, Knight Soro and the Grand Elder would ask Qin Xinjia about cultivation knowledge. As for the cultivation path after peak Emperor rank, Knight Soro was becoming clearer and clearer. Entering the heavenly Tao's 9, the arch tribulations, was the cultivation of the Tao. Most importantly, it concerned one's future direction and the foundation of the Tao. Knight Soro had comprehended his own Tao. It was the Tao of merit that cultivated one's character and virtue. This was recognized by the heavens. The Merit Emperor's merit position was the recognition of the heavenly Tao. In addition, the cultivation of the taboo, a tribute reincarnation Tao, was also fixed. What troubled Knight Soro the most was the arrangement for the other taboo attribute. Should he cultivate it or not? The Grand Elder and Qin Xinjia couldn't give him an answer because no one knew what would happen if he had 2 taboo attributes. Would he be punished by the heavens? No one could give him any suggestions. Night Sorrow called Long Jean and Tianyu to his tent. "Brother Sure-san, what's the matter?" Tianyu asked after sitting down. Although Tianyu had married Yi Nianxiao, he was still the same and hadn't matured much. "You two sit down. I have something to tell you. Don't look at it from the perspective of caring for me. Think objectively and put yourself in my shoes." Yishan took out 2 jars of wine and gave them to Long Jean and Tianyu. Then he sat down and started talking about the primordial attribute. "Actually, it's not that complicated. According to the lifespan calculation, no matter how severe the heavenly Tao tribulation is, it will only come once an epoch, right? Moreover, Brother Sure-san will have to endure the God destroying tribulation after an epoch. What's there to worry about?" Tianyu said. "Cough, cough. Tianyu, take it easy. However, what you said is reasonable." Long Jean glanced at Tianyu because Tianyu's words were too direct. I've been enlightened. In any case, I'll have to endure the God destroying tribulation after an epoch. Some of the tribulations won't come until I reach an epoch's lifespan. If I want to cultivate, I'll cultivate, Night Sorrow said after pondering for a moment after hearing Tianyu's words. He understood that sometimes things were very simple, but the more he thought about it, the more complicated it became. "Brother Sure-san, are you really going to cultivate? If something happens, Nianxiao will strangle me to death." Seeing that Night Sorrow had made his decision, Tianyu was somewhat regretful. He was also afraid that something would happen to Night Sorrow. "It's too late to regret now. If you want her days to be peaceful, then pray for me." Night Sorrow smiled and raised a jug of wine towards Long Jean and Tianyu. The 3 drank and chatted. Soon, they mentioned Mo Yutian. Samsara Island's defenses are so tight. Where did Mo Yutian go? There hasn't been any news about him. Long Jean muttered. Most of the areas on Samsara Island have stone trees and void purple light snakes. How can there be empty areas? If you were Mo Yutian, where would you go to find a place to do something? Night Sorrow asked. We won't consider ordinary areas because the Celestial Realm's Heaven Wasteland Army and Void Purple Light Snakes can find them. If we want to look, we'll look for areas that are difficult for soldiers to detect and that the Void Purple Light Snakes won't pay attention to. For example, the caves on Demon Mountain. As for the specific location, it's hard to say. Long Jean said. Dangerous areas. Night Sorrow muttered. He stood up and paced back and forth in thought. Broken Sky Mountain. Night Sorrow turned around. The 3 of them said the same place almost simultaneously. The more dangerous the place, the safer it is. Broken Sky Mountain is an empty area that we've explored so far. The Heaven Wasteland Army can't enter it. The Void Purple Light Snakes didn't go there before. Now that they're exploring other areas, they won't pay attention to that area. Night Sorrow was a little excited because this was definitely the right guess. Then, Night Sorrow told Little Z to let the Void Purple Light Snakes search the area of Broken Sky Mountain. Look at Question Edition plus C, Chapter 1. Q above. After making the arrangements, the 3 brothers began to drink. Night Sorrow was not in a hurry because a large formation that could stabilize and guard the void could not be set up in a short time. Then, the 3 brothers went to the campsite of the God-slaying squad and drank and chatted with dozens of brothers. What made him so happy? Qin Xianjie came to the Grand Elder and asked. He's too young and confused. Maybe he figured out something, the Grand Elder said. The soldiers of the First Army were not willing to see Night Sorrow and the members of the God-slaying squad drinking and chatting. Flower Without Words, by Lingling, Zhuodong, and the others came directly to them. Commander, are you serious? We're all your brothers. Why are you drinking and watching us? You're thinking too much. Brothers, take out your inventory. We're not going home until we're drunk. Night Sorrow laughed and shouted at the members of the God-slaying squad. The soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-slaying squad were drinking. The other 2 armies of the Heaven Wasteland Army were very envious. In the Heaven Wasteland Army, only the First Army was allowed to drink. Chapter 2021. Now that the First Army soldiers are full of vigor and battle intent, it seems like we need to give them more burdens. The 100 races of the celestial realm lack such vigor and vigor. The Grand Elder shared his thoughts. There's no problem with his ability. His actual combat strength has already surpassed some of the elders. However, he's too young. When others think of him, their first impression is that he's young and talented. Will there be voices of doubt? Qin Xinjie voiced his concerns. No. Apart from the initial impression, if you think about his experiences after he made his debut, his contributions to the celestial realm have already surpassed some of the elders and even the law-enforcing elders. Retrieving the remains of the human sovereign and obtaining the desolate war halberd. Any one of these things has a huge impact on the 100 races of the celestial realm. The Grand Elder shook his head. During the peaceful days, Knight Sorrow was waiting for news. 1 month later, Little Purple told Knight Sorrow that 2 void purple light snakes had disappeared after sending out signals. They were killed after discovering the target. Knight Sorrow asked Little Purple to confirm the location. He knew that the void purple light snakes could kill and even threaten Emperor Realm cultivators. However, it was normal for them to be killed when facing an expert like Immerse. This time, Knight Sorrow didn't plan to act alone. It wasn't easy to track down Immerse. He wanted to tell the Grand Elder about this and see if the Grand Elder had any opinions. Moreover, he would be courting death if he led the team alone. Great. It wasn't easy to track them down. This time we have to plan. We'll cripple them in one go and solve the root problem of the reincarnation island once and for all. The Grand Elder tapped the ground with his coiling dragon spear. Then I'll go gather the men and wait for the Grand Elder's instructions. Knight Sorrow went to the campsite and gathered the members of the First Army and the God-slaying team. Grand Elder and Qin Xinjie also arrived at Knight Sorrow's campsite. Yishang, you'll be in charge again this time. You'll have to lead the team. Immerse has a way to hide himself, but I don't. I want to enter your spatial treasure. Take me there, said the Great Elder. All right, Knight Sorrow nodded. He knew that this was a sign of trust. The Grand Elder had his own spatial magic treasure, but he didn't say anything about entering his own spatial magic treasure. But entering his spatial magic treasure was a sign of incomparable trust. The same goes for me. I'll follow your arrangements. Qin Xinjie also had the same attitude. Knight Sorrow brought out the 8-dragon cauldron and placed it beside him. Next, his soul power surged and sent the soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-slaying team into the 8-dragon cauldron. Good job! The Grand Elder gave Knight Sorrow a thumbs up. It was the ability of a commander to make everyone in the team trust him without the slightest bit of doubt. The Grand Elder knew that he couldn't do this. No commander in the Heaven Wasteland army could do this. Qin Xinjie's eyes were also full of admiration. Not to mention his ability, this was a display of his personal charm. Then I'll have to trouble you 2 elders. Knight Sorrow's soul power wrapped around the Grand Elder and Qin Xinjie and sent them into the 8-dragon cauldron as well. However, the 3 of them were stunned because they didn't succeed. You have to take this first. Your spatial magic treasure can't fit it. The Grand Elder took out a cyan ball and sent the coiling dragon spear into it. Then, he handed it to Knight Sorrow. The cyan ball was his spatial mini-world, and its level was very high. Qin Xinjie also smiled awkwardly. He took out a treasure that looked like a jade slip and put the weapon into it. Then, he handed the jade slip to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow also understood what was going on. It wasn't that the Grand Elder and Qin Xinjie were resisting, but that the 2 of them had treasures that were of a higher level than his 8-dragon cauldron. Knight Sorrow knew that this was normal. The Grand Elder and Qin Xinjie had cultivated for countless years. To have their current achievements, their luck was also amazing. It was reasonable for them to have obtained some heaven-defying treasures. After putting the treasures of the Grand Elder and Qin Xinjie into his belt, Knight Sorrow looked at the 2 of them. Grand Elder, Elder Qin, after leaving my 8-dragon cauldron, you could take back your treasures yourselves. Then, Knight Sorrow sent the Grand Elder and Qin Xinjie into the 8-dragon cauldron. Then, Under Little Purple's guidance, they began to fly. At this moment, Knight Sorrow couldn't enter the 8-dragon cauldron by himself. With his time and space attribute at the peak Emperor rank, Knight Sorrow's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he was thousands of miles away. Knight Sorrow told Little Purple to determine the approximate area. He had a plan ahead. Mo Yutian was too strong and could easily be detected. In this operation, Knight Sorrow didn't just want to destroy the foundation of Mo Yutian's array. He also wanted to heavily injure his team. The people that came this time were on a completely different level compared to the last time. When they were still a distance away, Little Purple told Knight Sorrow the approximate area because another void purple light snake was killed. Enter the chaotic streams of the void. We're getting closer. You should be alerted. After Knight Sorrow finished speaking to Little Purple, he waved the blood-chilling, evil, punishing spear and broke open the spatial barrier. Then, he brought Little Purple in and quickly flew. As they got closer to the target area, Knight Sorrow also informed the Grand Elder and Qin Xinjia inside the 8-dragon cauldron to prepare for battle. Knight Sorrow increased his speed. He knew that at the final distance, they would definitely be discovered by Mo Yutian. The faster, the better. He didn't want to give Mo Yutian any time to react. The Grand Elder and Qin Xinjia were also highly focused because the battle could happen at any moment. Broken Sky Mountain Range was undulating. In a relatively flat area not far from where Ancestor Mo fell, Mo Yutian set up another array foundation. After inspecting it, he let out a breath. At this moment, he frowned because he realized that the Grand Elder's sensing ability had disappeared. This was very abnormal. This meant that the Grand Elder had either left Reincarnation Island or used a special secret technique to hide. Why was he hiding? Obviously, he was targeting Mo Yutian. Mo Yutian fell into deep thought. He had already stayed here with his people for a long time. The defensive array had already begun to take shape. After a while, it would be ready to be used. If he retreated now, all his efforts would be wasted. However, if he didn't retreat, there would be risks. It wasn't just the disappearance of the Grand Elder's sensing ability that made Mo Yutian vigilant. He had already killed 3 void purple light snakes. The void purple light snakes were the spies of the people of the celestial realm. Mo Yutian knew this because when he attacked Knight Sorrow last time, he knew about the existence of the void purple light snake king, Little Purple. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Just as Mo Yutian was hesitating between retreating or continuing, Knight Sorrow and the others arrived. While Mo Yutian was looking at the void, Knight Sorrow's soul trembled in the chaotic streams of space, transferring the Grand Elder and Qin Xinjia out of the 8-dragon cauldron. Chapter 2022. As soon as the Grand Elder appeared, he charged towards Yutian Mo, while his doppelganger charged towards the Xiang Dragon. Qin Xinjia's target was Ji Yuan. Among Yutian Mo's team, the strongest were Yutian Mo, Xiang Dragon, and Ji Yuan. Knight Sorrow also appeared. He casually summoned the members of the First Army and God-slaying team out of the 8-dragon cauldron and said, "Get into formation and fight. Don't let anyone escape." The First Army and God-slaying team had an absolute advantage in terms of numbers. They also had enough people to fight in formation. Lin Yun led a team to chase after Yutian Mo, while Long Jin, Zhu Dong, and the rest led a team to surround and kill the Emperor of the Demon-Winged race. Little Purple, watch carefully, support wherever there is danger. Gather all the void purple light snakes nearby, and kill any that escape. Knight Sorrow instructed Little Purple before he charged towards the Xiang Dragon. At this moment, in a battle between experts, the easiest outcome would be the Grand Elder's doppelganger attacking the Xiang Dragon. The Grand Elder was one of the 3 giants of the Celestial Realm's 100 Races Alliance. Although there might be a gap between him and the Tianhuang City Lord and King Yuwu, it was not that big of a gap. He had lived for 8 eras and was at least an 8 sovereign tribulation expert. The Xiang Dragon was completely incomparable to the Grand Elder. Xiang Dragon's main body was dodging and defending. He did not engage in battle while his doppelganger attacked the Grand Elder. Knight Soro's first attack was a soul attack. He wanted to assist the Grand Elder in killing the Xiang Dragon. Although he could not tell the cultivation level of the Grand Elder and Yu Qianmo, Knight Soro could tell that the Grand Elder was at a disadvantage. If the Xiang Dragon was killed, the Grand Elder's main body and doppelganger would fuse together and the battle would be different. Knight Soro's soul-extinguishing slash was now extremely powerful and fast. It could even ignore energy defenses. No matter how strong the Xiang Dragon's protective chi shield and territory were, it could not stop the soul-extinguishing slash from invading. The crescent moon blade of the soul-extinguishing slash spun around the divine sea of the Xiang Dragon's true body, slicing away at the soul energy of the Xiang Dragon, allowing the illusions to be transmitted into the divine sea. This had a huge impact on the Xiang Dragon. Moments later, the Grand Elder's long spear pierced a hole through its body, and one of its left arms was blown off. Following that, the Grand Elder unleashed a violent spear strike. It was the ultimate spear art that he had been researching for many years. The space around the Xiang Dragon was sealed, and the Xiang Dragon felt like it was trapped in a quagmire. In a moment of panic, the Xiang Dragon's clone blocked the path of the Grand Elder's spear. With a muffled sound, the Grand Elder's spear pierced through the Xiang Dragon's incarnation, shattering it into pieces and turning it into a bloody mist. The energy trembled violently, and the effect of the Grand Elder's space confinement disappeared. The Xiang Dragon then charged towards Knight Soro, as Knight Soro's soul attack had greatly troubled him. Seeing the Xiang Dragon charging towards him, Knight Soro immediately used the Void Steps and the space-time realm to evade the attack. He was no match for the Xiang Dragon, and he did not want to go head-to-head with the Xiang Dragon. The Grand Elder was initially worried that the Xiang Dragon would ignore his attacks and go all out to kill Knight Soro. But when he saw Knight Soro using his body movement and defensive arts, he was relieved. He could tell that Knight Soro's ultimate art was very powerful, and this tactic was the most appropriate one. The battle continued fiercely, and the Devil-Winged Race's members were getting fewer and fewer. They were separated by the First Army soldiers and the God-Slaying Squad. In the battle between Qin Xianjia and Ji Yuan, Qin Xianjia was at a disadvantage, as Ji Yuan's attacks were suppressed by Ji Yuan. The difference between the two was not small. Ji Yuan was much stronger than Qin Xianjia, but it would be difficult for him to defeat and kill Qin Xianjia quickly. This was because Qin Xianjia had a secret art that allowed him to teleport close to the main body and provide support to the main body. The clone could also avoid certain dangers. Knight Soro was dodging and defending, but he was constantly using his soul attack. Under such circumstances, the Xiang Dragon could not withstand it. After blocking 2 of the Grand Elder's spear attacks, he was severely injured and was killed by the Grand Elder's 3rd spear attack. Seeing the Xiang Dragon killed, Mo Yutian's expression changed. His body flashed, and he kept Mo Lu, who was being attacked by Lin Yun and the others. Then, he rushed towards Yuan. He knew that he could not win, so he planned to gather some members and leave. Mo Lu was one of the core members of the Devil-Winged Race, so Mo Yutian had to save him. In addition, he also knew that he had to leave after this battle. After he released all of his energy, the Devil-Winged Race's wheel of life and death was no longer effective. More importantly, he was on the Reincarnation Island, where the Grand Elder could find him. After Mo Lu was put away, the Grand Elder was furious. He attacked Mo Yutian together with his clone, not giving Mo Yutian a chance to get close to the others. At the same time, Mo Yutian was also at a disadvantage. He could not withstand the combined attacks of the Grand Elder and his clone. Remember, the next time I see you, I will take your life. Mo Yutian, who was hit by the Grand Elder's spear, roared at the Grand Elder. Then he flashed and left. It was meaningless for him to continue fighting. The Grand Elder and his clone were here to suppress him. If he continued fighting, he would be in danger. Mo Yuqian could not fight anymore, but if he wanted to leave, he could still escape. As long as he got rid of the Grand Elder, it would be enough. The speed of the Grand Elder and his clone could not be stacked. Mo Yuqian left, and the Grand Elder could not stop him. However, the other members of the Devil-Winged race were not so lucky. They were surrounded and killed by the soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-Slaying team. As for the other expert of the Devil-Winged race, Zhi Yuan, he could not escape either. He had been entangled by Qin Xianjia, and he could not kill Qin Xianjia. Now that the Grand Elder was free, only death awaited him. After the battle, Knight Sorrow ordered the cleanup of the battlefield. 8 permanent * 6 exempt. 2 fee / e red novel / he ran away in the end. Knight Sorrow said as he looked in the direction Mo Yuqian had left. If he doesn't fight to the death, it won't be easy to kill him. I already knew this. This time, it will be enough to force him away. Only the City Lord and your martial uncle can kill him. I'm still a little lacking, the Grand Elder said. Let's destroy these array bases. Qin Xianjia said. There's no need for that. It's good for us to have one more stronghold. Later, we will set up the array according to our array. It will be a grand array that we will be in charge of. It won't be easy for the Devil-Winged race to break in, Knight Sorrow said after thinking for a while. The Grand Elder nodded. He also supported Knight Sorrow's idea. In the coming years, the 100 races of the Celestial Realm would rule the Reincarnation Island. Next, Knight Sorrow set up the array. Although Mo Yuqian had cleared the area with his men, it would still take some time to set up the Grand Array. 2 days later, the Grand Elder told Knight Sorrow a piece of news. Mo Yuqian's aura had disappeared, which meant that he had left the Reincarnation Island. Chapter 2023. Knight Sorrow felt that it was inappropriate, but he didn't say anything. It was not his place to talk about the Elder's rights and wrongs. The Grand Elder came to Knight Sorrow and asked, "What are you thinking about?" "Nothing." Knight Sorrow shook his head. "The timing is not good this time. There is no possibility of keeping him. Your uncle returned to the Yawa Royal Mountain to cultivate the soul unification, so he can't fight. The mayor is busy with other things and has no time to come." The Grand Elder said to Knight Sorrow. After cultivating for so many years, he could see Knight Sorrow's doubts even if Knight Sorrow didn't ask. "I'm sorry. Knight Sorrow shouldn't have thought too much. I shouldn't have questioned the decisions of the elders," Knight Sorrow said apologetically. I'm glad that you saw it. There's nothing that can't be said about right and wrong. In fact, the result this time is very good. The leader of the dragon-headed people and the leader of the snake-headed people are powerful. In the war, there are not many people in the celestial realm who can restrain them. They will cause a lot of damage. It's good that we got rid of them, the Grand Elder said with a smile. Uncle and Lord Tranhung are both busy. There's nothing we can do about it. Knight Sorrow knew that King Yawu was busy, but he didn't know that the mayor was also busy. The Grand Elder exhaled and said, "The mayor is under a lot of pressure." Then the Grand Elder told Knight Sorrow some unknown things. He didn't hide it from Knight Sorrow. The 100 races of the Celestial Realm and the Demon Wing race of the Deserted World have been fighting for the right to rule the Celestial Realm. This was the biggest conflict and contradiction. In addition to the Demon Wing race of the Deserted World, there were also some space worlds and races that wanted to rule. These space worlds were called extraterrestrial worlds, and they were also very powerful. Now, the mayor was going to negotiate with these extraterrestrial worlds. If they could reach an agreement, then there would be nothing to say. If they couldn't, then there would be war. Strong enough to threaten the 100 tribes of the Celestial Realm? Knight Sorrow asked. Yes, they also appeared at the end of the previous cycle. Some of the masters of the 100 clans of the Celestial Realm fell at their hands. Therefore, the mayor didn't intend to give them a chance to jump around this time. Either we can talk about peaceful coexistence in the future, or we can't talk about it. If they have the intention to fight for hegemony, then we have to deal with them before the decisive battle with the Demon Wing clan. However, it's hard to say whether we can dig them all out. This matter is very difficult. The Grand Elder said. Knight Sorrow didn't ask any more questions because he realized that there were too many things he didn't know. The construction of the stronghold went smoothly. After the construction of the stronghold was completed, Knight Sorrow calmed down. Without the Demon Wing clan on Samsara Island, the Void Purple Light Snakes did not attack the practitioners of the Celestial Realm. Therefore, the teams that went out to train were not in great danger. In addition, the environment of Samsara Island was harsh, and the will of heaven and earth was strong. It was suitable for cultivation. The Grand Elder's original body, Enchanting, returned to the heavenly wasteland city. He directly held a meeting of the elders and reported to them what had happened on Samsara Island. "Well done," Emperor Tang said excitedly. "Not only well done, but also very domineering," Qin Xianjia said with a smile. Face. Knight Sorrow's matter made the elders of the human race feel very proud. The topic revolved around Knight Sorrow. Everyone was chatting about what had happened after Knight Sorrow's debut. "I think the spirit of his subordinates is very good. They have an indomitable spirit. The Heavenly Wasteland Army and even the Heavenly Wasteland City need this kind of spirit. I think it's more appropriate to put the 3 territories of Samsara Island under his command and let him lead them. Give them some time, and they will become a stronger force," the Grand Elder said. In fact, Qin Xianjia's concerns were unnecessary. None of the elders objected. They all supported the idea. "I was worried that you would be short-sighted and object. It seems that you are all very far-sighted," Qin Xianjia said. "E forever, G * read for free for a long time. Knight Sorrow is the human emperor of the human race. Everyone trusts his character. His cultivation speed is also unprecedented. At least in the history books, there are no records of anyone surpassing him. Such a person should be responsible. What's there to object?" By Zhejian of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan, who had not been in the Heavenly Wasteland City before and had recently become a resident, said, "In fact, he is a person of virtue and prestige. It's just that he is too young, so it's a bit abrupt to use this word. In fact, being a person of virtue and prestige has nothing to do with being young," Tiger Cold's ancestor, the Tiger Clan elder of the Council of Elders, said. "It's still not easy to arrange. Our Heavenly Wasteland City is organized into captains, commanders, elders, and law enforcement elders. He is too young to be an elder, and it's a waste of his talent to be a commander," the Grand Elder said. "In fact, he is the human emperor of the human race. Does he need commanders and elders to establish his position? He doesn't need them at all," Xiao Jun said. "Indeed, he doesn't need them. But Commander Xiao, are you afraid? At that time, our leader was exiled to death, and today's situation wouldn't have happened. Who could control the Void Purple Light Snake and prevent the Demon Wing clan from landing on the Samsara Island? We really can't defend the Samsara Island," Pu Luo said. "In fact, there's nothing to be afraid of. The City Lord said that he would come back safely from the Heavenly Wasteland after the prediction of the Great Prophecy Technique." Pu Luo, Knight Sorrow didn't care about this matter, but you can't forget it. Is it interesting? Xiao Jun glanced at Pu Luo and said. He felt guilty about Knight Sorrow, but he did not regret it. "Huh, it's not that I can't forget it. It's just a joke. Commander Xiao, don't you know me well?" Pu Luo said with a smile. "The Human Dao Alliance is doing well. I'm very envious of you. The Human Dao Alliance has been going through a lot these past few years. I'm sure I'm not the only one envious. Everyone else is," said Xiao Jun. "Some are envious, some are worried about being photographed, and some are even cursing. But I believe most of them are envious," Pu Luo said. He was a founding member of the Humanitarian League, and he was proud of it. "That's because I'm old. I'll be laughed at if I go crazy with you. Otherwise, I'll try to join the Humanitarian League to punish evil and promote good," Qin Xinjia said with a smile. After the emergence of the Humanitarian League, all the forces in the Celestial Realm have become very self-disciplined. The atmosphere in the Celestial Realm has changed again. "Everyone has to admit that this is a matter of great merit," Xiao Jun said. Xiao Jun's words received everyone's approval. Elder Shao, let me ask you something. You have a deep grudge against Night Sorrow. Aren't you worried about being photographed? Even Yukuin was killed, Qianjia said. I've never worried about this problem. Elder Qin, don't compare me with that traitor Yukuin. I've done some things wrong in the past, but I dare to say that I did it for the sake of the 100 tribes in the Celestial Realm. I dare to say that I have a clear conscience. Under such circumstances, how can the Humanitarian League, which punishes evil and promotes good, take revenge on me? Is there any justice in this world? Xiao Jun said, That's reasonable. Let's not talk about the way you do things. From the perspective of your starting point and standpoint, you really don't need to worry about these things. Emperor Tang nodded. He had a good personal relationship with Xiao Jun. Chapter 2024. When the Grand Elder arrived at the Heaven Wasteland Tower, the Golden Dragon King arrived with the dragons as well. Grand Elder, some of the dragons' problems have been solved. This king brought them all here because it's a critical time. The Golden Dragon King cupped his hands at the Grand Elder. The dragons behind him also bowed at the Grand Elder. In a few years, the dragons and the 100 races of the Celestial Realm might have some misunderstandings. However, it's not a big deal. When the time comes, we still have to fight side by side. The Grand Elder said. After that, the Grand Elder arranged for the dragons to be stationed in the Heaven Wasteland City. He then brought the Golden Dragon King, the Azure Dragon King, and the Black Dragons into the Heaven Wasteland Tower and continued the meeting. The Grand Elder first told the Golden Dragon King about the Reincarnation Island and some arrangements. Night Sorrow is a good boy. This king can rest assured with dragon gold and dragon language by his side. The Golden Dragon King said, I plan to let him be in charge of the entire Reincarnation Island. However, my doppelganger or your doppelganger, Golden Dragon King, must be stationed there. I'm worried that the Demon-Winged clan won't give up on the Reincarnation Island. The Grand Elder said, I've heard the name Night Sorrow many times. However, he's too young. Can he be in charge of the entire Reincarnation Island? The Azure Dragon King said. The Azure Dragon King was the strongest among the dragons other than the Golden Dragon King. However, he had suffered a loss at the hands of the Heaven Wasteland City's mayor, so he rarely came to the Heaven Wasteland City. This time, he was forcefully dragged here by the Golden Dragon King. He's very steady and is very good at strategy and tactics. He's currently the leader of a force. It won't be a problem for him to be in charge of the entire Reincarnation Island. The Grand Elder said, Since the Grand Elder said so, I will naturally believe him. The Azure Dragon King nodded. It's really not a problem. Mo Yuqian and Mo Tianji of the Demon Wing clan have fought with him before, but they were always at a disadvantage in terms of momentum and results. You all know the two giants of the Demon Realm clan. It's hard to not suffer a loss in their hands, let alone gain the upper hand, the Grand Elder said. The Grand Elder has a lot of things to do. I'll go to Reincarnation Island and see how those little guys are doing. You haven't seen Yixing before. He's really something, the Golden Dragon King said. Night Sorrow's original body was cultivating while his doppelganger had nothing to do. Therefore, he guided the members of the First Army and the God-Slaying team in their cultivation. Night Sorrow was very strict. The members of the God-Slaying squad were very afraid of Night Sorrow during training and cultivation, including Yin Xiao. The Grand Elder led a group of elders from the Council of Elders and the members of the dragons to the stronghold of the Demon Mountain. After another teleportation, they arrived at the new stronghold of the Broken Mountain. All of you, cultivate the new joint attack formation well. If you don't, you can't stop. Drink water? Drink tea? Endure it. Night Sorrow roared at the members of the First Army and the God-Slaying squad, who were cultivating the new joint attack formation. What's going on? Why are you all so angry? The Grand Elder led the group to the camping ground. This isn't the first time the First Army and the God-Slaying squad have fought with the Demon Wing clan. They've even fought in front of Mo Yuqian. They've definitely studied the joint attack formations they used in the past. Therefore, it's very necessary to cultivate the new joint attack formation. However, This group of idiots still can't comprehend the new joint attack formation I've just researched. This makes me very anxious because no one knows when the next war will break out. The more we sweat now, the less we bleed during the war. This will increase our chances of survival, Knight Sorrow said. Very good. That's how it should be. Boys, work hard. Learn from your commanders. The Golden Dragon King laughed and then kicked Long Jean. Can you be any more stupid? Even an idiot can see that. Uncle, you're an expert in formations. Are you an idiot? Long Jean was a little depressed. He really wasn't good at formations. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Knight Sorrow invited the group into the tent and brewed a pot of tea. I've seen the first army before. They weren't so strong back then, but they're doing very well now, the Azure Dragon King said. The Grand Elder told Knight Sorrow about the Assembly of Elders plan. They intended to let Knight Sorrow be in charge of Reincarnation Island, and the Heaven Wasteland Army on Reincarnation Island would be under his command. Grand Elder, Knight Sorrow is young and not suitable to manage the Heaven Wasteland Army. It's good enough that he can lead the first army. However, Grand Elder, don't worry, I'll do my job well and fulfill my responsibilities. Knight Sorrow didn't consider and directly refused. Power represented responsibility. Knight Sorrow felt that it was not suitable for him to do some things now. It was more important for him to improve his cultivation as soon as possible. Others can't even ask for such a thing. I want to recommend you to the Assembly of Elders, but your cultivation is currently the most important thing. You don't have time to manage these things, so there's no such arrangement. However, it won't be a problem for you to manage the Third Army. They all have their own commanders. You just have to give them some instructions, the Grand Elder said. Knight Sorrow didn't say anything. He really didn't want to accept such a thing. He really didn't want to. Kid, hurry up and accept it. If the human emperor doesn't take up the responsibility, who will? Don't worry and do it boldly. This king will stay here from now on. If anyone is dissatisfied or disobedient, this king will slap them, the Golden Dragon King said. Yes, everyone believes in you, Qin Xinjia also said. However, I have some things to say to the Third Army. Okay, I'll do my best. If not, it'll be the same as before. After looking at the elders in the tent, Knight Sorrow didn't refuse anymore. He had to give face to these elders, and he couldn't embarrass the Golden Dragon King. Emperor Tang brought the Heaven Wasteland Army of the Demon Mountain Stronghold over and gathered with the Heaven Wasteland Army of Broken Mountain. The Grand Elder brought the elders and Knight Sorrow to the front of the army. Today, I have some things to announce. From now on, Knight Sorrow will be in charge of the Samsara Island. The Third Army will be under Knight Sorrow's command, the Grand Elder announced. Then, Qin Xinjia took out Knight Sorrow's leg. Then I'll say a few words. Whether it's good or bad, don't mind it. Knight Sorrow exhaled and said, The people under my command are actually my brothers and sisters. If you want me to treat you as my brothers and sisters, I can't honestly say that I can't do it. If I lead you, I'll first follow orders and prohibitions. Before a decision is made, everyone can discuss it. Once a decision is made, it must be carried out, Knight Sorrow said to the Third Army of the Heaven Wasteland Army. Understood. The Third Army of the Heaven Wasteland Army replied. To be able to answer with the word understood before I made any other promises, that's very rare. Knight Sorrow is very gratified, and I thank you for your trust. As a human and a member of the Celestial Realm's 100 races, I, Knight Sorrow, will do what I have to do. When I said that the First Army and the God-Slaying Squad are my brothers, I meant it from the bottom of my heart. In war, I, Knight Sorrow, will treat everyone equally. The First Army will be treated the same as the Third Army. Knight Sorrow made his promise as a leader. Chapter 2025. Of course you can, but I'll say this first. If you want to cultivate, you should cultivate until you're good at it. Don't cultivate until you're half-baked. If you go out and expose your secret, you might even lose your life, Knight Sorrow said. After hearing Knight Sorrow's words, The three commanders knocked their weapons on their breastplates to acknowledge the order. They knew that there was a huge gap between them and the first army. They also knew that there was originally a gap, but it was not as obvious as it was now. After Night's Sorrow appeared, the first army had undergone earth-shattering changes. None of the three commanders in the Heaven Wasteland army could fight against the first army. Even if they joined forces, the three commanders did not have the confidence to fight against the first army. If everyone has no problem, then I, Night's Sorrow, will naturally have no problem. Grand Elder, I'll take this job. Night's Sorrow turned to the Grand Elder and nodded. The Grand Elder nodded and then returned to the tent with the Golden Dragon King and the others. He conveyed the order. Night's Sorrow had successfully taken over, so he did not have to worry about the rest. Back then, when Night's Sorrow took over the first army, he was worried. Today, Night's Sorrow took over the three commanders, so he was very relieved. The first army will have 11 teams. The first and 11th teams will each guard 2 stations. The other 9 teams will be divided into 3 groups and temporarily be incorporated into the 3 commanders. They will cultivate the formation and attack together. I'll give you half a year. If you can't satisfy me in half a year, scram back to the Heaven Wasteland City. You're not soldiers under my command, Night's Sorrow. Night's Sorrow shouted to the Heaven Wasteland army in front of him and then left. Some things could be left as long as he passed them on. As for why he did not assign the God-slaying team a task, Night's Sorrow had thought about it. The God-slaying team was friends with the soldiers of the first army. They had fought together and received recognition, but they did not have much interaction with the 3 commanders. He was worried that they would not be recognized because of the difference in their cultivation. Night's Sorrow went to the big tent of the camp to report to the Grand Elder and the other elders. I told you, you brat, you don't have any problems. You're still trying to push me around. Anyone would want this opportunity. Being powerful is a symbol of strength, and having a lot of people under your command is also a symbol of strength. If you have a few Heaven Wasteland army under your command, you could just flatten the entire family of whoever dares to mess with you, the Golden Dragon King said. Ahem, Night's Sorrow is the virtuous king. You can't teach him that. I don't know if it's right for you to stay on Reincarnation Island with Night's Sorrow, the Grand Elder said as he looked at the Golden Dragon King. It's the same whether he stays on Samsara Island or not. For the sake of the dragon language, he has no complaints about being banished to Heaven Wasteland. Acknowledging the dragon language as his sister and letting the dragon language marry grandly without suffering any grievances is giving us, the dragon's face. Our dragon race will always remember the kindness of others. Besides, who is the dragon language? I'm the crown princess of the Golden Dragon clan, the princess of the Black Dragons. He is Long Jin's brother, which means he is this king's nephew. Therefore, Grand Elder, you also understand some things, the Golden Dragon King said. Commander Knight, I am the Black Dragons, Long Face Shue. If you need anything, the Black Dragons will definitely be there, the Black Dragon Great Elder said. Thank you for your kindness, seniors. Long Jin and Long Yu, we've fought side by side, and we've been through life and death together. Taking care of them is what I should do. Yishang cupped his hands toward the Golden Dragon King and Long Face Shue. Generous. Grand Elder, you don't have to say. Even the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City isn't as generous. He has always put the interests of the human race first. He won't even let us be on the celestial demon list, Long Yishing said. Last time, he was taught a lesson by the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City. Long Yishing was very resentful. Night's Sorrow smiled. He also agreed with what Long Yishing said. Last time, when the Black Phoenix clan leader made a scene, the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City, Tran Hung, said that regardless of the overall situation of the celestial realm, he was a human. It was obvious that the interests of the human race were the most important. Why are you guys involved in the celestial demon list of the human race? If you have an idea, why don't you suggest to the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City to create an emperor list of the 100 Races Alliance? The Grand Elder glanced at Long Yishing. That's a good idea. Fame is the motivation of all cultivators. Who doesn't want to be famous? This king will discuss this matter with the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City later. The Golden Dragon King was more supportive of the Grand Elder's idea. The other elders of the 100 races also nodded. Only with competition would there be motivation. Yixing, Feishue, the natural environment of the Reincarnation Island is quite harsh, but it is also a good place to improve one's cultivation. In the future, when the descendants of the dragons become emperors, they will have to come to the Reincarnation Island to train for a few years. You guys decide the time. The Reincarnation battlefield will become the Reincarnation Island. The Celestial Realm will take this territory. The dragons will take it. The Golden Dragon King said to the Azure Dragon King and the Black Dragons. After chatting for a while, the Grand Elder left with the other elders. The Heaven Wasteland City needed to be guarded. They could not afford to be empty. After Long Yixing and Long Feishue arranged for their subordinates to deliver some news, the two of them also stayed on the Reincarnation Island. The people of the 3 divisions, the soldiers of the First Army, and the members of the God-slaying team were all cultivating hard every day. They were cultivating the new joint attack formation that Night Sorrow had created based on his years of experience in the art of formations. Yishan also went to check. When he saw idiots, he would really scold them. He even used the blood-chilling evil punishing spears shaft to whip them. They were whipped until they didn't make a sound. This was because they knew this step was to increase their strength and increase their chances of survival. Listen up. You are all born and raised by your parents. You are all the treasures of your parents. Living well means being filial to your parents and elders. Living well means being filial to your parents. Living well means being filial to your parents. Living well means being responsible to your parents. Living well means being responsible to your parents. If you can't cultivate well in half a year, you are not suitable to fight under my command. Scram back to where you came from. After walking around the arena, Night Sorrow scolded. Never be a scum. Never be a deserter. Never be a coward. The people of the 3 divisions responded to Night Sorrow with angry roars. This kid is really good at deceiving people. In the main tent of the base, Long Yixing said to the Golden Dragon King, "Nice words don't mean anything when they come out of your mouth. It has been a few eras, and the mayor of the city hasn't made anyone feel bad. Why is it that he doesn't like you? You should learn how to talk in the future." Night Sorrow is not trying to deceive people. He is trying to understand what they care about. He is trying to put himself in their shoes. Do you understand? The Golden Dragon King threw a glare at Long Yixing. Long Yixing was slapped by the mayor of the city, and Golden Dragon King was not happy about it either. He felt embarrassed, but Long Yixing was really not a good person. Caribe unspecified currency Yong Jio said, "You are the leader of the dragons. You call the shots." Long Yixing turned around and looked to the side. "Don't you know what you need to do right now?" The Golden Dragon clan has Long Jin, who is close to Night Sorrow. The dragon language of the Black Dragons and Night Sorrow are siblings. What about the Blue Dragons? He is the most dazzling human emperor in the past few eras. Why don't you build a good relationship with him? Are you stupid? The Golden Dragon King looked at Long Yixing and said angrily, Then I'll arrange a few good seedlings from the Azure Dragon tribe to stay by his side right now." Long Yixing immediately came to a realization after hearing the Golden Dragon King's words. Hurry up and do it. Also, you don't know the ways of the world. Just remember one thing. Whoever he doesn't like, you don't like them. Whoever he curses, you beat them. That's right. The Golden Dragon King said. Chapter 2026. Qin Xinjie felt a bit lucky. The Golden Dragon King had asked Long Yixing to ride on Night Sorrow's coattails. If Long Yixing were to ride on someone else's coattails, the whole world would be in chaos. Long Yixing was famous for his coattails. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had a conflict with the city lord. He only listened to the Golden Dragon King, Long Batian. After thinking for a while, Qin Xinjie realized that Night Sorrow's strength was terrifying. Among the 100 races in the Celestial Realm, perhaps only the 3 giants could compete with him. In the Celestial Realm, Other than the human race, the most powerful races were the mythical beasts. First, the dragons. If Night Sorrow was in trouble, the Golden Dragon King would definitely support him, and so would the Black and Cyan dragons. Secondly, the Bloodscale race. Chirue's family owed Night Sorrow a favor, and they were friends with Night Sorrow. If anyone messed with Night Sorrow, they would definitely stand on his side. The Cyan Rock race was the same. They were also friends with Night Sorrow. The descendants of the Nine-Tailed Fox race were all under Night Sorrow's command. If something really happened, the Nine-Tailed Fox race wouldn't hesitate to help. The situation between Night Sorrow and the Ice Phoenix race wasn't clear, but everyone knew that the new Ice Phoenix race empress was close to Night Sorrow. They weren't blood relatives, but they were closer than blood relatives. Qin Xinjie knew about Wu Lingfei's situation in Star Moon City. The real giant of the Ice Phoenix race would solve this problem when they showed up. From a human's point of view, they wouldn't have any conflict with Night Sorrow. In the end, their relationship would be harmonious. The mythical beasts were powerful, and they were Night Sorrow's solid allies. However, they weren't Night Sorrow's strongest ally. Night Sorrow's strongest ally was the Divine Capital, one of the two cities in the Celestial Realm. Night Sorrow was the heir of the Divine Capital. Everyone in the Celestial Realm knew this. In addition, Night Sorrow had Star Moon City, the Chaos Realm, and the Humanitarian League. The Humanitarian League was a combination of several major forces. Its strength was recognized in the Celestial Realm. Look at the original unspecified currency. Version Chapter OU1 inch, the general trend is set. He has accumulated such a strong foundation. Scary. After pondering for a while, Qin Xinjie muttered to himself. There were some things that he wouldn't feel if he didn't think about it. However, when he thought about it, he discovered some shocking information. With the Golden Dragon King's words, Long Yixing and Night Sorrow became much more enthusiastic. They often chatted with Night Sorrow about useful things. While Night Sorrow was a little puzzled, the Azure Dragons brought a few young juniors. They were 3 celestial emperors. Commander Knight, your subordinates are all elites. These guys are also elites. Can you take them in and let them work for the 100 races in the Celestial Realm? Long Yixing brought the Azure Dragon's elites to Night Sorrow's tent. Sure enough, Azure Dragon King, your wine is poisonous. After drinking a few jars of your wine, I have to do something. Night Sorrow sighed and said, it's not like that. We drank wine because of friendship. It's different from the Azure Dragons Juniors joining the Heaven Wasteland Army to work for the 100 races in the Celestial Realm. Long Yixing said awkwardly. Then, Azure Dragon King, did you tell them about the rules of my subordinates? Night Sorrow thought for a while and asked. I did. If they don't follow the rules, you can skin them alive. I won't say anything. You have a final say. Long Yixing patted his chest and said, all right, follow me to the first place to report. Night Sorrow stood up and said, the wine is here. Let's come back and drink. Azure Dragon King took out a jar of wine and placed it on the table. Night Sorrow looked at the Azure Dragons, outstanding juniors. Although they were juniors, each of them had lived for more than 100,000 years. After joining the team, the first thing you have to do is to integrate. You are the elites of the Azure Dragons, but after joining the team, you have to lower your status and get along well with everyone. The more friends you have, the more exciting your life will be. Night Sorrow said to the 3 celestial emperors of the Azure Dragons. Leader, thank you for your advice. We have heard about you, so we feel honored to be your subordinates. Thank you for taking us in. A woman among the 3 celestial emperors said. She was Long Yixing's daughter, the princess of the Azure Dragons, Long Wei. She had told Long Yixing that she came here as an elite junior of the Azure Dragons. You're welcome. Since you are willing to serve the races of the Celestial Realm, I have no reason to keep you out. Let's work hard together. Night Sorrow nodded to Long Wei. When they arrived at the first army, Yishang handed Long Wei and the other 2 over to Zhuodong. He asked the team the first army to take care of Long Wei and the other 2 during cultivation. After that, Night Sorrow and Long Yixing went back to their own tents. Night Sorrow, I thought you would arrange for them to go to the other 3 territories, but I didn't expect you would arrange for them to go to the first territory directly under your command. Thank you. Long Ishin cupped his hands at Night Sorrow. Azure Dragon King, I trust the elites you have chosen. Besides, I don't think it's appropriate to arrange for them to go to the other 3 territories. They will think that I have arranged for them to go to the first territory. Besides, I can see them at any time. That way, Azure Dragon King can rest assured. Night Sorrow said with a smile. The Azure Dragon King nodded. He was indeed happy. Originally, he had thought that Yishan would only arrange for Long Wei and the other 2 to join the other 3 great generals. He would not arrange for them to join the core First Army or the God-Slaying Squad. The peaceful days passed. Night Sorrow's true body was cultivating in the depths of the Void Vortex. He was comprehending at a high speed in the accelerated time. Sometimes, his children would take the teleportation array to Samsara Island to deliver tea to Night Sorrow. Sometimes, they would accompany their father and mother to drink. Night Sorrow suggested to the Council of Elders that the entire celestial realm should be hunted down for Mo Tianji. Mo Yutian returned to the Devil Imperial City and met with Mo Zhantian. His face was gloomy. The expedition to the Reincarnation Island had suffered a great loss. They only managed to bring back Mo Lu. Both Xiang Long and Su Yuan, who had undergone the tribulation of 3 sovereigns, were left behind on the island. Seems like we have to change our strategy. If this continues, we will be at a disadvantage. Mo Zhantian said, if we can't fight them head-on, we will be restrained. I am preparing to go through the tribulation of 9 emperors. If I succeed, I will cultivate the soul and soul as one. Then, we will be able to fight them head-on. Mo Yutian's eyes were filled with anger. He had never suffered a loss in so many years. He was one of the 3 great heavens of the Demon Wing clan. This failure made him lose face. That's fine. If we can't fight them head-on, we will be in a passive position. I wonder how the Heavenly Concubine is doing. Mo Zhantian was more worried about Mo Tianji. Her path hasn't been smooth these years. I can't say for sure. I will go through the tribulation. When she returns, it will be the time for us to fight the 100 tribes of the celestial realm. Mo Yutian said, You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.